Okay, my dudes, you know exactly what we're doing. And honestly, we're probably going to get some high stakes, high money fantasy drafts going. You know, we live stream every single night. Real money fantasy drafts. You know, we are posting videos every single day with fantasy football advice. And yeah, today we're going to hop into some of the high stakes leagues. We're going to go up and we're going to battle the pros, see what we can do. Because, you know, in those rooms, if you're hopping in a $250 public fantasy draft, it gets a little intense. It gets a little scary. We'll be doing that later on in the live stream. I will say, if for whatever reason you're watching this as a video later on and you missed the live stream, fix your life. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell next to the subscribe button. Nobody is doing anything like this. Make sure you subscribe. Join the flock. Let's get this going. Very excited. Let me pull up the live chat. We'll send out the link over there on Patreon. This is going to be a warm-up draft. First off, because guys, y'all know I can't just hop into a $250 draft. That would be way too intense. I would not be able to handle ourselves. So let's just send this first draft out. This is going to be a $10 draft over there on Patreon. Let me send out a notification on Discord. And yeah, this is getting filled ASAP. We're going to get this going. Let's hope that we get the 101 here because we have not had the 101 enough. I need some more practice. Come on, give it to us. Give it to us. The 104. Okay, honestly, we haven't drafted from the 104 that often. We'll take it. If we're going to go through and see who else is out in this draft. First off, let me move this over. Actually, we're moving that the wrong way. Let's move it over this direction. Let me know if that looks good to y'all, if I can switch this back over here just to make sure we have the proportions right for everything. Yeah, I think that we have this set up correctly. So let's give some shout outs to the people out in this draft right now. Because obviously this link was sent out over there on Patreon. So we got the regular people out in the draft right now. So we have Deasonators out in every single draft. It doesn't matter if it's a $10. It doesn't matter if it's a $250 draft. He's out here to take our money. Sad to see that he's drafting close to us. Sad to see that he has the 101. We have the Pacifier, a long-time member of the flock. We have Raw. This is a long-time member of the flock. Also a very much regular. Gets out in some of the $250 drafts with us as well. Then we have Wanted Alex, of course, a longtime member of the flock. I'm sure that a lot of people know him from the Discord chat. Your boy Rico, I believe this may be his first draft he's gotten in with us. Everybody knows JN. JN went to the UT game today. He's extremely jealous. Then we actually have Cheeky Hobson. I believe Cheeky Hobson's been out in a ton of these drafts with us as well. Then we have TSST. I have no idea how to say that. But anyway, we're going to be on the clock. And here we're going to take a Davante Adams. And I know a lot of people are going to be freaking out because, yes, we're taking Davante Adams over a Derrick Henry. I mean, you should know exactly why we're doing this by now. I mean, we have discussed this at length. And we got more things than you. We have Girthquake. Girthquake actually just got out in our Dynasty Patreon startup draft earlier today. So yeah, back-to-back drafts that we were drafting in with Girthquake. And we have Hoop State out here as well, a regular to the channel. Y'all know the first draft's going to be the majority of the regulars. And then after this, when we get that $250 draft going, that's when we'll be battling the pros out there in the streets. It'll be extremely fun. But let me go through, and just in case we have someone out here that's watching this as a video later on that has no idea why I took a Davante Adams at the 104 over a Derrick Henry. Essentially with the Derrick Henry, you're looking at a 27-year-old running back. This is the age you see the fall off. He has over the past 2 seasons, over 800 total touches. I mean, that is extremely worrisome. To go along with this, we know that the change in our offensive coordinator does bring up a cause for concern. And at the same time, I mean, you actually have Davante Adams. Not a lot of people have talked about this because we had the whole Aaron Rodgers saga throughout this entire offseason. But Davante Adams, this is a receiver that was the best receiver of all time for a fantasy football perspective last year. So love Davante Adams at the 104, even though I know a lot of other people won't agree with us. You actually have Derrick Henry falling here to the 108. I will say I'm completely fine taking Derrick Henry at the 108. I've been saying that he is a vastly overrated running back in fantasy, but my problem is him going over an Alvin Kamara. My problem is him going over Davante Adams. My problem is him going over Ezekiel Elliott. If you want to take Derrick Henry over Aaron Jones, Barkley, Taylor, Eckler, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. I mean, at the 108, I think it's fine value on a Derrick Henry, even though I know a lot of people are going to be losing their minds when they see that. Travis Kelce at the 106, Tyreek Hill at the 107. Okay, so JN, guys, if y'all don't know JN, he's going wide receiver heavy. I mean, we know exactly what JN's looking to do. Let's give some shout outs to the people in the chat. We got Saram, David, Fallon, Anthony, that guy, CMC, Dakota, John, Mike, Andrew. Andrew was out in the Patreon Dynasty startup with us as well. We got Alejandro. Alejandro is out in this draft. I mean, we got a lot of people out in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, my dudes, for everybody coming out here. And yeah, sorry that, I didn't go through and get the live stream going earlier. I'm going to be completely honest. I have just been in love today with football. God, it's a tease because we're not necessarily getting to see NFL football, which I'll say this, I'll put this on record. NFL football is better than college football, but still, at least we got to watch some. And now, DeAndre Hopkins goes at the 205. Okay, so Aaron Law coming out says he's disappointed in OU. My man. All I have to say is hook 'em horns. Hey, Jayan was at the UT game today. Okay, Hopkins goes to the 205. Mixon at the 206. So it is sad to see that we are not going to be looking at getting a Joe Mixon or a Najee Harris on this roster. So now I think we actually have to make an adjustment with what we're doing with this upcoming selection. So let's see where Wanted Alex goes. He goes a DK Metcalf. This is perfect. I honestly thought that we were going to be getting a Joe Mixon here in the second round. But now that we get Darren Waller falling to us, I would have actually taken Darren Waller in this kind of format over a Joe Mixon. I've been talking about this over and over again. And if you look at our updated rankings, we have moved the tight ends up the board. I think that tight ends now at the very top of drafts are way more appealing than they've ever been, considering the landscape of the position, considering the Irv Smith Jr. injury, considering what we had with Adam Troutman. Going to be very excited to get Darren Waller at the 209. And I know a lot of people are going to be screaming, Mason, you idiot. Mason, you don't have a running back through the first 2 rounds. Don't you know this is a losing strategy? All I have to say for you is please stick around until round 11. I promise you guys. I have done, at this point, about 175 real money fantasy football drafts. I've done 175 real money fantasy football drafts. I am obsessed with fantasy football. It's literally all I do from the second I wake up to the second I go to sleep, 7 days a week. It's all that I do. I think we know what's going on here. I think we are fine going through and starting off Adams and a Darren Waller with how it's going to set us up later on in this draft. So the pacifier does take a Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 211. So now we are not going to be considering a running back in the 3rd round. If CEH would have fallen to us, then yes, we would have actually taken him. But now instead, I actually see a George Kittle available, and it does suck that we're not going to be able to take Kittle and Darren Waller both on this team. And now between a Terry McLaurin and Amari Cooper and a Robert Woods, I actually have some of these other receivers more appealing than a Terry McLaurin to me. But considering we're going to be playing in so many leagues, I actually think that we have to consider taking a Terry McLaurin here. And one thing that I want to point out, guys, is you're not going to see it in this draft, but we have actually seen that quarterback ADP rising. And the reason is, now that we are getting closer to the season, you have the more casual people, the people that aren't thinking about fantasy football back in, remember, all I was talking about every single day in the month of March, in the month of April, in the month of May, in the month of June was fantasy football. So, we're kind of used to interacting with guys that take fantasy football extremely seriously. But now you're getting those quarterbacks to start to rise up in ADP. Patrick Mahomes looks like he has an ADP of 30 overall at this point. I think that's way too early on a Patrick Mahomes. I doubt you see the drafters in this draft because honestly, these are the people a part of our Patreon community. These are not necessarily just regular casual fantasy football fans. These are, die-hard fantasy football players. So they're probably not going to be taking a Mahomes at his ADP, which is about in this range. But yeah, I do want to point that out, that you can kind of tell that the more casual people are coming in. You can definitely tell that the more casual fantasy football players are playing. Okay. So also, guys, let me send out this link in the live chat right now for y'all to get into our next draft if y'all are wanting. I am sure that everybody here knows this by now, but just in case, for whatever reason, if you have not taken advantage of this, please, guys, do it before it's too late. What you need to do is go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, which is where we're drafting right now. This is where I draft every single night. I have been drafting on here for I don't even know how long now, and I've done 175 drafts so far. This is my favorite place to draft, and it's not even close. So because it's my favorite place to draft, I reached out to them, and I was like, Underdog, please, can we work out a partnership here? Can we get something sorted out? And they said yes, and we worked something out where they actually agreed to sponsor our 2021 fantasy football draft guide. They agreed to sponsor our rankings. They agreed to sponsor really everything with this channel. And if you go to the description of the video and you use promo code FLOCK on the link to join Underdog Fantasy so you can come out here and you can draft with us, what you're actually going to be getting in return is you're going to be getting $25 added to your account to go along with this. I mean, not only are you getting $25 added to your account, but you're getting our draft guide, you're getting our rankings, you're getting our tiers, and you support the channel a ton. So please make sure you go to the description of the video, go to that Underdog Fantasy link. You'll find all the information there. All you have to do is click that link, use promo code FLOCK, make that $10 deposit. You're getting hundreds of pages of information in our fantasy football draft guides, and it's $10. We could be selling that for like $80, $90, and instead, because Underdog Fantasy is literally the best, and I figured that we wanted to make by far and away the best deal that was ever available from a fantasy football perspective. I mean, you're getting it for a $10 deposit, and you're getting paid $25 to go out there and get in these drafts with us. Now, JN says, Jordan Whittington, good Lord. Yeah, guys, I'll say, let's keep this between JN and me, but JN, I literally saw him on campus. I want to say it was like during the COVID time, because it was like to the point where like you didn't know if you could go up and talk to people. I saw him, and the man was ridiculous. I thought he was a linebacker. I had to look up a picture of him because I was like, oh my God, that's not Jordan Whittington, is it? That man's a linebacker. And here, I know all of the haters that are screaming, Mason, you forgot your running back. Mason, you forgot your running back. Well, guys, we get Chris Carson in the 4th round. This is the kind of value that we're talking about. We get 2 stud receivers with Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin. We get an elite tight end with Darren Waller, and we are still getting running back production here in a Chris Carson. Chris Carson will be a high-end running back 2 for us. So far on this team, we have the best receiver room in the league. We have the 2nd best tight end room in the league. And yeah, we're going to be a little below average at running back, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, I think Chris Carson here at the 409 is perfectly fine. Okay, let me go through and pin that off. And guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream yet, fix your life. Go down there and drop a like. Okay, so Josh Allen goes to the 412. To be honest, I'm probably not going to consider looking at a quarterback here when we have decided to pass on the running back position up until this point. So I think it's nice to see that these elite level quarterbacks are continuing to go. We're going to be fine getting the options that are going to be available to us at the end of the draft. So yeah, we're fine seeing these guys go in this range. We get Mark Andrews at the 502. So you actually have the pacifier going and completing the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack. Now, Miles Sanders does go right before us. We were hoping that we were going to get a Miles Sanders. Instead, I actually think that we go with a 3rd receiver here in a Deontay Johnson. Not a massive fan of a Deontay Johnson, but we're getting him 9 picks behind his ADP. And if we're getting a player 9 picks behind his ADP, a big thing that we have to understand is I'm playing in $250 drafts, hopefully this season, guys. If I'm playing in $250 drafts, if I can get a Deontay Johnson 9 picks behind his ADP, I kind of have to at this point. So we're going to take Deontay as our wide receiver 3. If Miles Sanders were to fall to us in the 5th round, then sure, we would have gone Miles Sanders. But I'm comfortable with the other players that we're actually going to be looking at with the running back position in rounds 9 and 10, if that's what it comes to. So instead, I think we can actually get Deontay Johnson at the 504. Okay, Fallon says, get the energy up, boys. Sup, Flock, my man. Thank you again for coming out to all of these live streams. Fallon is always out here. I mean, literally like every single one. You know what I should probably do? What we had yesterday is I moved the live chat over to this monitor. Let me switch the live chat over here. It's a lot easier for me to look at this screen, and I can actually look stuff up here. Okay, so. Okay, Ryan says, can you do free practice drafts on Underdog Fantasy? That's one thing that Underdog Fantasy is very good with, and that y'all know if you're playing in like mock drafts, you're really going up against like computers. You're going up and drafting against literally a computer, because by the time you get to round 5, I mean, literally every single person's on auto draft. However, if you actually go through and you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and make that $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK, the best thing about Underdog Fantasy is you're not drafting against people that are auto drafting. You're not drafting against the computer, because every draft that they have is a real money league. Now, I will say, so you're going to make that $10 deposit, you get $25 added to your account, and Underdog has $3 10-man or 12-man leagues. So you can go through and you can get those practice drafts in, and at the same time, everybody in there is actually going to be drafting. It's going to be a real fantasy football draft. It's not going to be one of those fake BS mock drafts that aren't going to prepare you for your league. So no, they don't do practice free mock drafts, but it's essentially free. They're essentially paying you to do it. If you're making that $10 deposit and getting $25 added on, you have $35 in your account. And you can go through and do 11 of those $3 drafts. No problem. Harry says another Adams and Rodgers stack. My man, you know we're going for it. You know we're going for it, my man. Okay, so Dak Prescott goes at the 601. I am surprised to see Dak go there. Usually you're seeing Dak Prescott more so go in the middle of the third round to the owner that decided to take an Amari Cooper. He's going at the end of the 6th round to the owner that decided to take a CeeDee Lamb. I am surprised to see Dak Prescott at the 601, to be completely honest. Okay, so now from here, we actually have Josh Jacobs at the 603. That would have been a running back. That would have been beautiful to get falling to us at the end of the 6th round. Now, sadly, it doesn't happen. And guys, like I said, I mean, y'all know I hated Josh Jacobs when he was going in the 3rd, but now you're seeing him consistently go in the 6th, and it's a little bit of a different story here. And now JN is switching it up on us. I did not even see this. JN going and getting his 2nd running back in the 5th round in Gus Edwards. JN, what are you doing here, my man? You're going 2 running backs in the top 5 rounds? This may be a first for JN. He goes Antonio Brown at the 606. Let's switch this over really quick. And at the 609, hopefully we don't have to do it. Hopefully we don't have to. Okay, so your boy Rinko is on the clock. He is gone with Najee Harris, whatever you want to say, at running back. Myles Gaskin goes to the 607. Alejandro is up. He has Zeke, Metcalf, Ayuk, Chase, and George Kittle at tight end. Okay, so he has another team. I guess we have to do it. Y'all know I've been on record saying that Mike Davis is like the most overrated player in fantasy drafts when he's going at the beginning of the 5th round. But if we're getting him at pick 69, here I think we are fine getting a Mike Davis. I'm not necessarily a massive fan of him, but it's more so, I mean, we're getting him at the very end of the 6th, and we need a running back too. So let's get a Mike Davis here. Not that excited about it, but it's value. So far on our team, at receiver, keep in mind you have to start 3 wide receivers in this format. We have Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson. At running back, we have Chris Carson, Mike Davis. And at tight end, we have that elite option in a Darren Waller. And y'all know I'm trying to chase that elite option at tight end every single time. I mean, I love getting Darren Waller there. Okay, now we have Juju at the 811. So at this point, we can continue to draft running backs if we want, but I'm fine getting a receiver. I'm fine going with another receiver because it's a league where you start 3 of them and you have a flex at the same time. So understanding your format, understanding that we can have 4 wide receivers hitting our starting lineup each and every week. I mean, I think that makes it where if we want another receiver here, I mean, who the hell is going to stop us? We can always go with them at the beginning of the 7th. Joshua coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. I'll get to that in 1 second. Let me get this pick underway here. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Raheem Mostert. No, not doing it. Can't do it. I mean, I have been adamant saying I don't understand people who are drafting Mostert in this range. Could never be me. Now, Logan Thomas goes at the 703. At this point, it's, do we take a receiver or do we just take Chase Edmonds? You know what? When we get Mike Davis and Chris Carson on this team, I think we're kind of safe with the projected volume that we may have. Because while I don't like Mike Davis and I think that his projection is very volatile, when you draft him, you essentially have to say, well, if this team's going to win, that projection has to be right. So instead, we're actually going to get Tyler Boyd at the beginning of the 7th round as our wide receiver 4, kind of being a little worried about what we could potentially actually have falling to us at receiver in the following rounds, whereas I don't necessarily think that we have to worry about that same thing at running back. So yeah, let's instead go with a Tyler Boyd at the 704. Let me know what y'all are thinking about this. Of course, let me know what y'all are thinking about this, my dudes. Now let's switch this over. Let me check out the live chat. Let's go back to Joshua's donation. He says, full PPR, Laviska Shenault, Michael Pittman, or Jacoby Myers. Thoughts on Trey Sermon this year? I will say, love Trey Sermon in fantasy this year. I mean, this is someone that you're looking at as a player that I actually made a video that comes out tomorrow about this. But Trey Sermon has a fantastic chance of breaking fantasy football during your fantasy football playoff stretch. So I love I love Trey Sermon for that reason. And between your question, Laviska Shenault, Michael Pittman, or Jacoby Myers, it's Laviska Shenault. It's not even close for me, my man. I mean, Laviska was a player that I would have had at the top of this list before the Travis Etienne injury, and the Travis Etienne injury actually makes it where Laviska Shenault is even that more exciting. Now, Rodgers does go at the 710, so it looks like we are not going to have the opportunity to draft an Aaron Rodgers. I hate the selection of an Aaron Rodgers in this range, to be honest. I mean, I do not think you can take Rodgers at this point over Russell Wilson, and Hoop State does end up going with a Russell Wilson, who was the value on the board at the 7-12. If we scroll up real quick to show off Hoop State's team, I think that this selection of a Dak Prescott here was probably pretty bad. I mean, knowing that you could have gotten a Russell Wilson falling to you at the 7-12, I doubt you're that excited about now drafting Dak Prescott at the 6-01. So I think out of these two selections, I'm fine with Wilson, but I think going back, like if you had a time machine, probably want to go through and change that Dak Prescott selection. Sleeper Marcus coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Says, what's up, Flock? I've been watching the streams for a month or so now, and I can catch it live when I can. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Proud new member of the Patreon. My man, thank you so much. And if you're a new member of the Patreon, make sure you shoot me a DM over there on Patreon, my man. I definitely want to get you set up with everything, get you set up with our group chat. I want to get you a podcast breakdown about your team as well. So thank you so much for all the support, and definitely shoot me a message over there on Patreon. I want to get that podcast breakdown out for you, my man. Okay, Raheem Mostert does go with the 802, not considering him, honestly. If he would have fallen to us at the end of the 8th round, sure, we could have taken him there, but I mean, I don't know. And Dakota says, Rodgers career year, book it. I would bet both of my kidneys on the same bet that Aaron Rodgers does not have a career year this year. Based on previous years that Aaron Rodgers has had, I would bet both of my kidneys that he doesn't come close to either. I mean, to be completely honest. And I would bet both my kidneys for $1 on that. Okay. So now at the 809, we're going to be in a spot where, I mean, Marquez Callaway has not been someone I've been drafting very often whatsoever, to be honest. I mean, I don't even know how excited we would be to take him here at pick 93, even though he is, according to ADP, the best player available. Darnell Mooney does go. Now, Wanted Alex takes Michael Thomas. So here we're going to get our guy, A.J. Dillon. I think getting another running back in this range does make a lot of sense. And the great thing about A.J. Dillon is we've said this time and time again, but he's a running back that has a role on his team. And if anything happens to Aaron Jones, he becomes a top 12 running back in fantasy. I mean, with an A.J. Dillon, we know that he's going to go through and he's going to get those touches that Jamal Williams left behind, which is enough to make him interesting, but very similar to Kareem Hunt. He has that role on his team, and he has that baked in, hidden, elite level upside as well. So I love getting A.J. Dillon as our running back 3 with this build. DJ Chark would have been the other player that I was considering. So I do like to see DJ Chark going off the board at the 211. Dakota says, I'll be back at the end of the season for those kidneys. My man, I will see you. I'll see you. Colin coming out with the donation. Thank you, my man. Says, my dude just finished a draft at the 401. I'm assuming you meant at the 101. I don't know. What is the 401? We'll get to that in 1 second, my man. Oh, maybe you meant the 104. The 104. I'm assuming that means the 4th pick overall. Okay, so now we're going to be back up on the clock here. And honestly, I'm not going to be too excited about taking a running back in this range and knowing the receivers that are going to fall to us later on. I think it's actually probably better for us to grab a receiver here. We have the luxury of not having to draft like a Robert Tonyan because we have Darren Waller. So instead, I actually just think that we get Jarvis Landry, another receiver that's going to be running a lot of routes, getting a lot of targets. And if people are interested to know why we go with the Jarvis Landry here, just stick around for the next 4 rounds and let's see the running backs that are going to be going off the board versus the receivers, because receiver dries out very quickly. I mean, after you get past the 10th round, like once we get to the 11th, the 12th, it's going to be very hard to find any receivers that are going to have strong roles on their teams. So instead, I think that it's probably going to make a lot more sense for us to get Landry. Okay, so Colin, I'm assuming that this is a team from the 104 and you get Adams, Metcalf, Ayuk, Kittle, Jacobs, Sermon for the first 6. Keep it up. Awesome content. My man, congrats on that start. I will say you need Trey Lance on this team. If you're making that bet in with Ayuk, Kittle, and Trey Sermon, there's literally not a world where this team is any good without Trey Sermon completely smashing. I'm sorry, Trey Lance completely smashing, which I think is a high probability. So definitely make sure you go and actually go out there and target Trey Lance. Braden says, how much is the next draft for? I would love to get a $250 draft going because I do not think that Underdog is going to end up filling that contest. And like I said so many times before, Underdog has those guaranteed prizes on the $250 draft tournament. So, I mean, it's not like they don't fill it and then all of a sudden you're just having less opportunity at high-end money. It's the exact opposite. They don't fill it and the guaranteed prizes are there no matter what. So instead, it may be Underdog having to pay money and we're actually going to be going up against less people to get those prizes. So I'm probably going to try to get into a $250 draft. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it right after this one. Maybe after this one, if the $250 draft doesn't look like it's going to fill, then we'll just get a $50 one. So I can't commit to anything right now. We're going to try to get a $250 though. Okay, Noah Fant does go at the 9-10. Okay, so honestly, we're kind of wanting to see these tight ends go off the board. I need to see these tight ends to begin getting drafted because, I mean, at this point, when we have a Darren Waller, I mean, we're not drafting another tight end until maybe like Austin Hooper in the 15th round. So, I mean, just getting those tight ends off the board and possibly pushing more receiver value down to us, maybe pushing some quarterback value down to us, it's going to be really nice. And if we're going to be talking about QBs that we could be potentially targeting for our stacks here, I mean, a Derek Carr at the end of the draft, we could get a Ryan Fitzmagic at the end of the draft, a Big Ben at the end of the draft. Any quarterback that we're actually going to be looking at in this range, like if we're going to be talking about someone that could potentially just go through and help us out in maybe round 11, that could potentially be a Joe Burrow with a Tyler Boyd. But yeah, that's just the small thing that I have there. Now, Henry Ruggs does go at the 10.02. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of what I'm talking about with why we take a Jarvis Landry at the 9.04, because I think the receivers that we're going to be looking at will be pretty gross. Now, Jalen Hurts does go. Okay, so it looks like maybe these quarterbacks are going to start getting drafted. Jazzy Fresh coming out says, you drafted Mike Davis. I'm shocked, LOL. Yeah, my man, it was at the 609. Don't give me that much hate. We took him at the 609. The majority of drafts, he's going at the beginning of the 5th round. On Underdog, he always falls a little bit further than that. But yeah, if you're going to be having to draft Mike Davis in the 5th, I hate it. But if we're getting Mike Davis and we already have Myles Gaskin, Damian Harris, Darrell Henderson, Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams all off the board, then I'm going to be willing to draft Mike Davis. Gesicki goes at the 10.05. Let's pull this back up. Sony Michel goes to Jan. So Jan takes his 4th running back on this team. And Jan likes calling himself a wide receiver heavy drafter. Jan, my man, you're embarrassing yourself here. Embarrassing yourself. Your identity is out the window. Okay, so now your boy Rico is on. He has had 3 running backs, 5 receivers. His running back core is, okay, we don't even need to talk about that. He has Hollywood Brown. 1 at Alex is up. He goes Marvin Jones. Okay, so now I think that we're actually most likely going to be looking at getting a running back in here. I think that we need to start drafting them. So let's get a James Conner. That's going to be our 4th running back on this team. And I think that we've been able to piece together touches at running back just nice. I mean, I don't necessarily think that we have to worry about really anything in terms of just us trying to find that projected opportunity. I mean, we are going to end up having a strong wide receiver core. Okay, so now we scroll down a little bit from here. I mean, you still get some more receivers going. So guys, going back to us deciding to draft a Jarvis Landry here. So the question is, like, do we prefer having the combination like Melvin Gordon and Russell Gage or Jarvis Landry and James Conner? And honestly, we probably prefer the combination of Jarvis Landry and James Conner. Now, Jamal Williams, Kenyon Drake, Ryan Tannehill. So maybe this is the round where we get our first quarterback. So for looking QB, Stafford's the clear value. We don't have a potential to stack with Stafford, but I don't necessarily know if we... Like, the problem is, y'all know I'm a massive fan of stacking, but Stafford goes a full round of Joe Burrow, so it gets to the point, like, is the stack with a Tyler Boyd and Joe Burrow that important? I don't necessarily think so. I think we just take best player available, and that is going to be a Matthew Stafford at pick 124. So we'll bring him in as our quarterback 1. I mean, I think this is an extremely strong roster. Let me know your opinion on this. I mean, we're going through, and at receiver, we're rolling out every week Devontae Adams, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Boyd, and Jarvis Landry. And then at running back, we have Chris Carson, Mike Davis, A.J. Dillon, and James Conner. And at tight end, we have Darren Waller. And at quarterback, we have Matthew Stafford. I think this is a very balanced team that really, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a little weak at running back, but when we're crushing teams at tight end, when we're crushing teams at receiver, I think we're going to be able to easily make up for the lack of points there. Okay. So John Smith at the 11.07. Okay, so we actually have Fallon says Clemson pick. Okay, so Clemson threw another pick, it looks like. I will say I was watching the Clemson game earlier, and based on how they looked, it makes me more excited for Trevor Lawrence. We can't obviously be taking that much away from it, but it's like, oh God, Trevor Lawrence made this team this relevant for that long. Maybe we can get pretty excited about Lawrence just based off that. Of course, we can't, but it's fun to at least talk about. Now, Brian Edwards goes to the 11.09, Paris Campbell. So both of these receivers are rising in drafts. I mean, with the T.Y. Hilton injury, with the John Brown release, I mean, I think that they're both more intriguing as they get closer to this range where they're going next to Marvin Jones, Hollywood Brown, Russell Gage, Jalen Reagor. I mean, Jalen Reagor, I don't necessarily love here. I mean, I think that really we have like these receivers as probably the last guys in this tier drop off before you're looking at these pretty gross options. That's why I wanted to get like a Jarvis Landry here, because I didn't want to have to be taking a Paris Campbell or a Bryan Edwards in the 11th round. Okay, so Justin Fields at the 11-10. Let me look up this Clemson score. Let me see. I mean, obviously it was a very frustrating game to watch in the first half. Okay, so it's still a very low scoring game. Justin Fields goes at the 11-10. Okay, Girthquake. Let's check out Girthquake's team here, because we always love giving Girthquake a very hard time. So if we go through and we look at Noah's team, at running back, he went Taylor, Gibson, Love in this range, deciding to go RB. And then he gets Lockett, Claypool, Chenault at receiver. He takes a Kyle Pitts at the 402. The problem is, I don't know how much hate I can give someone for taking Kyle Pitts. I don't agree with the selection at all. But what I will say is, if you're going to grab that elite level tight end, or at least, I mean, what people perceive to be the elite level tight end, you can't necessarily bank on you being able to do it at the 5'11 anymore. I mean, in old drafts, you actually had the potential to get Hawkinson and Andrews consistently at the 5'11. Now that's no longer an option for you. So, I mean, I guess if you want a tight end from this range, if you want them on this team based out of this draft position, maybe you're just having to draft a Pitts here. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is, do we prefer Antonio Gibson and Kyle Pitts? Or if you wanted to take a tight end in one of the top rounds, would it have been better to take a Darren Waller in the second? I know that's a massive reach, but still, I don't love Kyle Pitts. Like, would you prefer Darren Waller and DeAndre Swift, or Antonio Gibson, Kyle Pitts? I mean, I think that maybe it's probably better to go and avoid the Kyle Pitts scenario, but I could be completely biased, guys. I could just be sitting here as a Kyle Pitts owner. I mean, hater, and not a Kyle Pitts owner, and not necessarily know what's going on. Now we have Singletary and Stevenson both off the board. Those would have been running backs I would have considered at the end of the 12th. We get Emmanuel Sanders, Nelson Aguilar. And guys, this is why we took receiver early. Receiver early, find the running back value later on. Dillon at the end of the 8th, Connor at the end of the 10th. Joe Burrow does go at the 12:06. Tua Tagovailoa going before Joe Burrow is something I cannot get behind. I mean, yes, you have a Jalen Waddle on this team, so you are going through and completing that stack. But at the same time, I mean, at what cost? Like, what's the real upside? Even if you do hit that stack with a Jalen Waddle, I think you're maybe soaking out all the upside out of that pick regardless. Now, when we take Stafford, I don't necessarily think that we need to reach on another quarterback here. I think instead what we may do is we may take another receiver, because Gerald Everett, while he's a good value in this range, we already have Darren Waller. I mean, we're not just going to necessarily have to sit here and reach on him. And we don't love the receivers here, but I just think based on how ugly it gets, I mean, it gets even uglier than this pretty soon. It's not going to be the worst pick in the world to take a Cole Beasley, just because he's going to have that role on one of the league's best passing offenses. So yeah, obviously you have some concerns with Cole Beasley. Nobody's going to overlook that. But getting him at the 12:09 and just knowing the role that he's going to have on the Buffalo Bills, I think that it's a nice risk-reward ratio whenever he's going next to players like Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So yeah, I actually like what we were able to do there. Okay, let's move this down. Okay, so now I believe okay, Alexander Madison goes. Yeah, so Cole Beasley, probably a pretty good pick when you see the receivers going directly after them there, because we had to be slightly worried about receiver just getting soaked all the way up. Now, there are going to be one or two players that I'm going to draft. Okay, so now we're seeing just the complete drought on receiver. Gerald Everett goes to the 1303. So we're definitely between Gabriel Davis and Trevor Lawrence here. Now, the thing is, if we take Lawrence, we are only going to have to draft 2 quarterbacks on this build. We don't have a stack with a Lawrence. I think that we probably potentially just want to take a Gabriel Davis. I mean, he is, after Davis, it's such a sharp drop-off for all those other receivers. So, y'all, let's take another Gabriel Davis. I know we're taking these receivers early. We already have 7 receivers with this roster. Trevor Lawrence could have been intriguing there. Maybe Lawrence was the right call. But let's go through and let's look at what we're going to have with quarterback in the later rounds compared to what we're actually going to have with receiver, and try to determine if we think that that selection was correct or not. So, yeah, right afterwards, you have Lawrence, you have Matt Ryan, both going off the board in the middle of the 13th. You have Traequan Smith at the 1307. Let me switch this back over. Trying to check the chat real quick to see what y'all think of that selection where we decided to go with a Gabriel Davis. Okay, Jayan says he went with the stack with a Joe Burrow. I'm assuming that Jayan most likely got T. Higgins, considering the fact that he's in the middle of the draft. And I know Jayan does like T. Higgins in the middle of the 4th round. Okay, so George says, Mason, will the flock do any redraft leagues this season? We've actually did a bunch of redraft leagues through Patreon before we made this fantastic partnership with Underdog. So yeah, we did do a lot of regular redraft leagues. We even had a $500 redraft league that we did where I actually gave away a spot for somebody over there on Patreon, and we filled that all with Patreon members. So yeah, I spent like $1,000 on that draft to get some people in. And it was in a very exciting draft. And we did a couple others, not with that kind of buy-in. But the thing is, when we are this close to draft season, I want to be getting as many of these best ball drafts as I possibly can because A, to be completely honest, guys, I'm going to be making videos. I'm going to be doing live streams. I'm going to be doing research all throughout the season. I mean, if you think I'm busy now, I'm probably going to be doing 3 videos a day when we're during the season. I mean, I'm probably going to be ramping up the entire operation to an unbelievable amount. So that is one thing that we have to consider. And I can't just be sitting there doing waiver wires, submitting starting lineups. I mean, it's not necessarily worth my time, to be honest. And also, if I do these best ball drafts, I can get as many of y'all in these drafts as possible because it's really easy for y'all to go out there and deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. I mean, get $25 added to your account, get into some drafts with us, get our rankings, get our guides. I mean, it's literally perfect. If you have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy yet, it's literally at this point a slap in the face for me. I mean, considering the fact that this is, in my opinion, by far and away the best fantasy football platform that you could play on. So A, you should be signing up for yourself. And B, I mean, I'm offering you $25 added to your account when you use promo code FLOCK. C, we live stream every single night. So you can come out here on a live stream and draft with me. D, you're getting our rankings. E, you're getting our draft guide. F, you're getting our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. Hundreds of pages of information, guys. Yeah. So now at the 14:09, we're not going to say anything here. We're not going to say anything. We're going to wait till we're on the clock. So your boy Rico, I'd imagine he goes with a receiver. I mean, he only has 6 receivers. He has Kelsey at tight end. So he actually goes with Randall Cobb. So that's what I was expecting. Wanted Alex can go anywhere. He goes Tevin Coleman. So, I mean, I like that we get J.D. McKissick falling to us here. I think that J.D. McKissick with this running back room, with this room in particular, we're just looking for guys that are going to have roles on their offenses. So yeah, I love getting J.D. McKissick here. And if we go back and if we look at that last pick where I ended up taking a Gabriel Davis and try to figure out if we liked that decision overall or if we possibly should have gone with the running back. I mean, yeah, honestly, we made the definite correct decision in passing on running back because we do not see any other guys going off for another like 17 picks. So yeah, that was the right decision. And I think now it's just more so, when are we going to get these QBs coming in? Because maybe at this point, when we wait this long, it's not going to hurt us too bad if we want to go out there and draft 3 quarterbacks. So we're probably going to end up drafting 3 quarterbacks in this team. But if that's going to be the case, we can wait a very long time to get our 3 quarterbacks. Frankie says, why can't I play in Las Vegas, but I couldn't? I mean, why can't I play in Las Vegas, but I could in New Mexico? It makes no sense. My man, it's literally as simple as, politics are kind of a little corrupt, and you know that Vegas has a lot of money to make with the casinos, a lot of money to make with sports betting inside the casinos. So you can't do any online kind of sports betting whatsoever in Las Vegas. It kind of sucks. Hopefully they get that sorted out. Like, you can't play online poker in Las Vegas, I'm pretty sure. Which is like the craziest thing to think about, of course, because that's like the capital of the world. But it's because they need you in the casinos. They need you giving the Red Rocks some money. That's why it's set up that way, my man. Okay, so Jared Cook goes to the 1501. Rashad Penny at the 1502. Okay, so now what we're going to do. Christian Kirk goes. So we could get a Ryan Fitzmagic here. That's what we're probably going to do. Because also, if we get Fitzmagic, I don't know if we have to draft another quarterback. And with Fitzmagic, we are stacking with both Terry McLaurin and J.D. McKissick. And it's at a value as well. I mean, it's behind his ADP. So I don't love Fitzmagic, but it kind of is what it is. That's so funny. The most recent report on Ryan Fitzmagic that he's going to be the week 1 starter. Oh, breaking news. Ryan Fitzmagic is going to be the week 1 starter. So yeah, there we get him at the 1504, showing off this team real quick. Here we are. And let me know what y'all think. Do y'all think I need to be drafting another quarterback on this build for a best ball construction? Because I think what I may end up wanting to do is possibly grabbing 6 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 tight ends. So we're probably going to try off that strategy. It's just going to depend on what kind of value falls to us later on. Byron Pringle goes at the 1507. Okay, so now Doug says, in Vegas last month, bet the Dolphins to win the AFC. My man, let me know what odds you got on that. I will say the front office for the Miami looks fantastic. I mean, I think that Miami fans have a ton to be excited about. But, I mean, the offensive line is very concerning for Miami this year. I mean, they're surprisingly going to have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL based on what people have said that are significantly smarter than me that I trust. So I'd be a little worried about that. Okay, so we have Chuba Hubbard at the 15-11. And you know what I need to do right now? Is I need to go and enter into the big dog draft and see if we actually have... I'll do that over here. Let me enter in the big dog draft real quick, see how many spots we would have to wait on, and see if it's going to make sense for us to go through and get a $250 draft going right now, or maybe we have to wait a little bit longer. Okay, so yeah, there are 6 spots left in the big dog draft. That's the $250 draft on Underdog. So if anybody is wanting to come out here and draft in the big dog with us, make sure you go and join that draft. It's just the $250 draft in the best ball lobby on Underdog Fantasy. The reason why we're doing this is if you do the math, it looks like it may not fill the overall contest. Y'all know how these drafts work is you actually have your 12-man league. And if you get first, second, or third, of course, you get paid out by that for Underdog. But at the same time, if you get first or second, you also get a ticket to advance to the fantasy football playoff tournament. And in that tournament, there are guaranteed prizes up at the top. Like in this one in particular, there's $100,000 on the top. And it looks like it's not going to fill. And what that means is it's just like a poker tournament where they have those guaranteed prizes where if it doesn't fill, that doesn't mean that those prizes aren't there. That means that Underdog has to go through and Underdog has to match those. So it looks like Underdog, keep in mind, I can't say this right now because we are 5 days away from the season starting, but it looks like they may have to be going out there and filling those contests. They may have to be going out there and matching those prizes on their own. So you'll be going for the same amount of money just for less people involved. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get in as many of these $250 drafts as possible. Okay, Jazzy Fresh coming out with a donation says, you got me hooked on Underdog, going for DeMilly. My man, if you win okay, if any of y'all win like a significant prize on Underdog Fantasy, like if any of y'all win a puppy draft, if y'all even get like top 5 or something, if anybody here comes away with at least 6 figures from Underdog Fantasy, you have to come on the channel and we're doing an interview. You have to, like, if you win the puppy draft or if you win Best Ball Mania, I'm the first person that gets to talk to you. Okay, let's put that in writing right now. Okay, so Gio, of course, would be interesting here if we knew more about his injury. Okay, if he's expected to play week 1, we're just going to go with the Giovanni Bernard, who does look like he's going to be the 3rd down running back in Tampa right now. So we're going to go with Gio as our 6th running back. Now we are no longer going to be looking at RB. So from here, we're at least going to get 1 more tight end, and then we're going to consider either drafting 1 more receiver or 1 more quarterback. So David Johnson does go at the 16-11. Now, James coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man, says, what is a better start to the 101 12-man PPR? CMC, Keenan Allen, Darren Waller, or CMC, Keenan Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or CMC, Keenan Allen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Any advice is helpful. My man, in fantasy drafts this year, it's a literal cheat code to get one of those elite tight ends as we have done here, especially when you have Christian McCaffrey. So I am 100% on the train for you to get Darren Waller. I promise you, you're going to be able to find quarterbacks that you like later on. Literally the easiest thing that you can do at the quarterback position right now is instead of going out there and trying to chase the Mahomes, trying to chase the Lamar, trying to chase the Kyler, instead all you want to do is just go out and instead, I know we said instead like a million times right now, but just draft Kirk Cousins and Trey Lance at the end of your draft. Use Kirk Cousins for the great matchups that he's going to have at the beginning of the season, then get Trey Lance and the elite level upside a little later on. Okay, so now realistically, what gives us more points here? An 8th receiver or a 3rd QB? Because at receivers so far, we have Adams, McLaurin, Deontay, Boyd, Jarvis, Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis. Oh, this is something that I am not sure with. I honestly think that we maybe get more points on this team with a 3rd quarterback. Yeah, we're going to draft a Sam Darnold here. It's not something that I know for sure. This could be a mistake by drafting a Darnold. Keep in mind, we don't have access to the waiver wire in this league. So it does change some things with how important your roster construction is. Wait. Oh, hold up, boys. Okay. No, we did exactly what we were trying to. Oh my God. I got a little scared there. Okay, so people wanting us to go with Mac Jones. I will say if we were in the large field tournament where we actually have ownership mattering and when we know that Mac Jones wasn't getting drafted earlier on in the season, then yeah, we actually would have drafted a Mac Jones. But here, if we're just trying to figure out who's going to score the most overall points this upcoming season, I mean, give me the quarterback that has CMC, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, and more rushing upside. So yeah, it's going to be Sam Darnold. Like if I had to bet who scores more points this upcoming season, it's 100% Sam Darnold compared to Mac Jones. There is a scenario where I would go out and consider drafting Mac Jones, but it's not in this draft. And we have 3 spots left. Okay, the Pacifier says probably my worst draft ever. Embarrassing. Let's go through and let's check out the Pacifier's draft real quick. Okay, so here he does have the 102. And if we scroll up to the top, he takes Dalvin. I'll say, I think when you take Dalvin, taking CEH here is a mistake, to be completely honest. I think taking CEH here is a mistake. I think what you want to do is you want to go receiver, or you want to at least go receiver George Kittle or George Kittle receiver. Either way, I think that when you take a Dalvin Cook, the advantage that you get is that you don't necessarily have to stress on your running back 2 spot. So I agree that this is probably a mistake right here. I was surprised to see you make it. And then from here, I'm completely fine. Lamar and Andrews at the 4-5 turn. Love getting Lamar and Andrews, to be honest. Then Juju, Hardman, Chark, Curtis, Jalen Reagor. So like going back to what we were talking about previously, like I just think that the receiver value, the running back value that you passed on later because you had to catch up on receiver, like taking a Reagor here over Kenyon Drake, Jamal Williams, that is, in my opinion, just a straight up bad pick. I don't think there's any other way to go through and look at that. And also, if we're looking at some other picks that you may have had to make, I mean, a McCole Hardman here at the 702, I think this is a little too rich for my liking on McCole Hardman. I've been getting him here more so at the beginning of the 8th round compared to the 702. From there, AJ Green, Sterling Shepard, Big Ben is your second quarterback, Penny, David Johnson, Pat Freiermuth at tight end. Yeah, so there are just a couple things with that draft that I probably would go through and change. But guys, we are going to get that $250 draft going after this, and we are going to get it going in 1 second because there are only 2 spots left in that draft. So yeah, this is going to be, of course, my favorite thing to do. Go into those $250 drafts, battle it out with the pros. Now, Donovan Peoples-Jones is selected at the 1805. Devin Duvernay at the 1806. Okay, of course, Devin Duvernay going to our guy JN. And let's switch this over real quick. And at this point, we are literally only looking at tight end. Like we can only draft tight end, and that's going to be it. We're going to be fine with Eric Ebron or Dan Arnold. I think that actually Dan Arnold is maybe slightly more appealing here, considering that we do have Sam Darnold on this roster. So to recap our team, we have 3 quarterbacks with Stafford, Fitz, and Darnold. At running back, we have Carson, Davis, Dillon, Connor, McKissick, Gio. At receiver, we have Adams, McLaurin, Deontay, Boyd, Jarvis, Beasley, Davis. At tight end, we have Darren Waller. So yeah, it looks like we're just going to end up getting Darren Arnold here, unless one of Alex goes with another tight end. No, he has Kittle. I'm assuming he's only drafting 2. I'd be very surprised if he drafted a 3rd tight end here. Okay, so the $250 draft just filled. So guys, what I need from you right now, listen up right now, guys. We are about to get in a $250 draft with the pros. I mean, if you're sitting out there and if you're joining a $250 public league, I would say that you're pretty much the best of the best with fantasy football drafters. This filled, and we need the 101. So what I need from you is to take all the positive energy that you have ever experienced in your lifetime, put that in your finger, and don't waste it. Don't hold any back. Go down there, drop a like on the stream, drop a like on the video. Let's get this 101. Let me pull up this draft really quick. It's going to be exciting. Okay, this is going to be exciting. Come on. Okay, we don't get the 101. We don't get the 101, but we have some good news. JN is in this draft again. We have good and bad news. Good news is we're at the 103. We get Alvin Kamara or Dalvin Cook, whoever ends up falling. And bad news is we have to draft next to Deasonators. We have to draft next to Rob. We have to be in a draft that has do me favors as well. At least he's far away from us. Now, I will say this drafter here, very, very, very bad. I mean, they don't necessarily draft as many receivers as they should. So we're going to take Kamara here, and I think this is the first $250 draft that we've started with Alvin Kamara. I think that it is, to be honest. Now, Isaac says, come on, give Mason the 101. Thank you, my man. Sadly, we did not get it. Sadly, we did not. Okay, so now let's go through and see if we're looking at anything else. Tyreek Hill at the 105. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. This is an experienced drafter. We have not drafted with this name as of yet. So now that we see them go with Hill at the 105, that's really telling on what we're going to expect from how they're going to value receivers in this draft. I mean, that's probably going to tell us that they're going to go through and they're going receiver, 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 receiver. Sleeper Marcus says, oh, it's the punter, Mac Mahan. Yeah, I mean, this guy, yeah, he gets lucky. He gets Kelsey at the 108. I'll say that. He gets lucky, but I mean, this guy's been punting these drafts with us over the past few nights. And I'll say, maybe he knows something that I don't, because he is in all these $250 drafts that we do. So I think he's just kind of sitting out here in the lobby waiting for them to fill. And if that's the case, then it has to make us a little worried, because I've said this a million times before, guys, but when we enter in these $250 drafts, I mean, I am operating under the assumption that we're not the smartest guy in the room. We're probably one of the dumbest guys in the room. So when we see something that we don't necessarily understand, I can't just say it's stupid. I just can't say it's wrong. I mean, we do have to sit here and we have to go, okay, well, let's take a double take. We also have Party Till She's Hot getting in this draft as well. Okay, so we got a decent amount of members of the flock. We got Raw, Deasonators, we got JN, Party Till She's Hot, and we also have the punter himself, Cognition. Cognition, the last draft Cognition did, I'm not going to lie, was pretty good. The last draft Cognition did was pretty good. James says, so I go Waller option on the turn. Do I go Swift or receiver? Thanks in advance. Okay, so if you're saying, so you get Waller at the 212, my man, I will say that maybe you're asking about the 4-5 turn. If you're asking about the 4-5 turn, if DeAndre Swift falls to that range, I'm completely fine taking DeAndre Swift. But on a Christian McCaffrey build at the 2-3 turn, I'm almost exclusively going Waller with the receiver unless you get Joe Mixon falling to you. If you get Mixon falling to you, at that point, I think you can go with the running back. Okay, so now we have a couple teams doubling up on running backs at the turn here. And I'm sorry, guys, if I'm not going to be able to check the live chat as much as I usually do. But a big thing is this is a $250 draft. If it's a $250 draft, I mean, I definitely have to go through and I have to make sure that we are just on top of everything. Okay, so Gibson goes at the 204. Maybe one day it says, take Pitts before Cognition, F their world up. That would be pretty funny, my man. That would be funny. Okay, so Cognition goes Deandre Hopkins. Okay, so you actually have Justin Machan, whatever the hell his name is, go with Kelsey, Nick Chubb. Yeah, so this is what we have seen. This team. So I got sent a tweet that essentially says that this team is like a high-stakes grinder that just goes on auto draft for all these drafts, and he has his preset rankings involved. But his preset rankings have running backs way too high, so he ends up getting boxed out at receiver in the majority of these drafts. So yeah, now when we go with an Alvin Kamara, we're just going to take A.J. Brown here. I mean, I think that we're probably going to be trying to go receiver, knowing that Deasonators is a team that goes with a receiver, I mean, very often. So does Raw, so does JN. I mean, kind of feeling out the room here. We know that wide receivers are going to be at a premium in this draft. So I think we want to be going with them, and I think we probably want to be going with them early. Now we have Justin Jefferson at the 211. Hate seeing George Kittle fall to us at the 301. I thought there was a tiny chance that we actually had Kittle falling to us at the 303. So because we have Cognition in this draft, we are going to be taking Kyle Pitts at the 303 here. Let me go through and lock him in. Of course, we're not doing that. Of course, we're not doing that, guys. Instead, we're going to go with another receiver. And now, obviously, I mean, Terry McLaurin's ahead of him in ADP. I think that's ridiculous. Instead, we're going to be going with an Allen Robinson here. And our start is going to be the combination of Kamara, A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson. Okay, so I like this start. I mean, it's very standard for what you're going to find. I mean, it would have been preferable if we had a Darren Waller falling to us in the second round, if we would have had a George Kittle falling to us in the third. I mean, obviously, we would rather see that, but it is what it is at this point. Robert Woods does go at the 304. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 305. Okay, so this is kind of surprising. We were expecting this team to maybe go pretty strong at receiver when they started this draft off with a Tyreek Hill. But now going a Darren Waller and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I mean, looks like they're going with more so just who they perceive to be the value on the draft board if they're deciding to take Waller and CEH there. Now, Terry McLaurin falls to the 306. Okay, Cognition on the clock. I'm willing to bet never mind, because Cognition's on here. He'll take my kidneys if I say I'm willing to bet my kidneys that he goes Kyle Pitts. But this is probably going to be Kyle Pitts. Yeah, so he goes Kyle Pitts in every single draft. So Cognition, like I said, I mean, I have a theory deep down that this is actually Kyle Pitts himself or it's Kyle Pitts' father. It's one or the other. I mean, it's one or maybe Kyle Pitts' mom found her way onto Underdog Fantasy and is really enjoying it and really believes in her son and keeps on taking Kyle Pitts in the third round. We have seen them go with Kyle Pitts over George Kittle at the beginning of the third. Maybe, I believe we have seen that. I want to put the caveat, we could be wrong. Okay. So now James says, yes, I'm at the 4-5 turn. Do I go receiver, or take Swift if he drops there? If Swift falls to the 4-12 for you, take Swift. Yeah, take Swift and then a receiver. Dakota says, you bet me your kidneys already, Mason. Yeah, I backed out of it. I didn't offer them up again. We already have that kidney bet out there. And Dakota, hey, you better be coming in with $1 if I win that side of the bet. Okay, so Mike Evans goes at the 310. Chris Godwin at the 311. Okay, so Party Till She's Hot is not on board with us saying Godwin over Evans. They go Evans over Godwin here. Julio Jones goes at the 402. Okay, so this is what you're kind of seeing. This is why we wanted to make sure that we were getting double receivers at this turn. Because, I mean, you're kind of expecting this receiver run to happen. It was going to happen no matter what. I will say that. Now, the question is, when do we get Mahomes? When do we get Allen off the board? I mean, those elite level quarterbacks have been inching their ways up in every single one of these drafts. Okay, so Julio Jones, Chris Carson does go at the 403. And guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream yet, what are you doing? Please go down there, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We do this every single night. And I mean, this is a $250 draft right here. We're going up against the pros. I mean, we have real money on the line. So Carson goes at the 403. We actually just took Chris Carson at like the 409, I believe, in the last draft whenever we started with a Devontae Adams, and then I went like Darren Waller and then Terry McLaurin. T. Higgins to JN. JN's always getting T. Higgins here. He goes with his guy, Antonio Gibson, in the second round. Okay, so JN's now taking Gibson over Deandre Hopkins. Deontay Johnson goes at the 405. Okay, so it looks like Justin Machan, maybe this is a spot where he's changed up his rankings or something, because I swear to God, he was not going receiver here in the fourth round previously. Maybe he's not on auto draft and he's actually in here drafting himself. And I'd say congrats on that. Oh, this is the first time I think I've maybe ever seen this. We see Josh Allen go before Mahomes. I've seen that happen before, but only to the team that drafts Stephon Diggs. I'm not sure that we have seen Allen go to a team. Oh my gosh. I'm not sure we have seen Allen go to a team that did not have Stephon Diggs before Patrick Mahomes. Deasonators goes. Oh my God. I did not expect to be at this spot. I did not expect to have to make this decision. I love Brandon Ayuk here. I know how much we're going to be regretting this later on. But my inclination, whatever you want to say, deep down, I feel like there are very few teams that have gotten the combination of Alvin Kamara and Mahomes here. So I think we are going to take Patrick Mahomes. Brandon Ayuk does go here at the 412. I mean, you must be jumping up and down to get Brandon Ayuk there at the 412. God, that Mahomes selection was hard to make. That was a tough draft pick to make over Brandon Ayuk. I could easily be regretting that. Not that long from now. I mean, let me know what y'all think of this selection. Guys, it's a $250 draft. Like, there are real stakes on the line here. Now, I actually think we're probably going to take a receiver I don't necessarily love with this selection, but we're more so looking to just make sure we hammer in receivers. And all these guys are kind of in the same tier, so might as well take the guy at top of ADP. That way we can make sure we get someone that we like falling back to us. So let's take a Chase Claypool here. Unless we want to go with Hawkinson. No, let's get Claypool. Let's make sure we bring in the receivers. Here. Even though we know that, I mean, Cognition does just load up on tight ends. So maybe we could use that as a tiebreaker to go with Hawkinson, but no, it kind of sucks where we're at. If we wanted to take Hawkinson, I mean, what we should have just done is taken a Kittle in the second if we really wanted to tight end that bad. So yeah, let's just get Claypool here. And Deasonators, he had the stones to pass on a Mahomes. He had the stones to go with an Adam Thielen instead. And he starts off with 4 receivers on this build. Okay, this is very intriguing. Okay, so Cognition only has 1 receiver so far. So we have seen Cognition a lot in these drafts just go through and continue to load up with running backs, tight ends, and an elite quarterback in the first half of the draft. And then from there, get a ton of receivers on his roster later on. So he goes Kyler Murray here. Yeah, so we have seen him go with those elite quarterbacks previously. And Justin Machan, this guy has definitely changed up his rankings because in the past few drafts that we have done with him, I mean, it literally looked like tight end, running back, quarterback, then running back, quarterback, then running back, quarterback, and then like a bunch of receivers afterwards. Like it was like to the point where the teams looked dead. But yeah, this is a fantastic start. I mean, this is maybe I don't want to say the best start you could have because I think we do prefer some of these other receivers. We prefer some of the other players over Deontay Johnson, but that's mainly just because I don't like Deontay Johnson. I think going with the receiver there is probably ideal. So Hawkinson goes to the 5-10. You have Lamar Jackson at the 5-11. So do me favors, back on the clock here. Okay, so let me check. Let me check out what we're doing in terms of the chat. Okay, so Logan says, should have got Ayuk and then go with a Kyler Murray. Honestly, I prefer the combination of Mahomes and Claypool compared to Ayuk and Kyler, to be honest. Now let me go through. And Steven says, double up with quarterback with Kyler. Oh, man, that would have been disgusting. That would have been very gross. Okay, but guys, you know I have to say this because for whatever reason, there are still some people in this live chat. Maybe it's only 2 or 3 of y'all, but there are still some people in this live chat that have yet to sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Guys, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. This is where we're drafting every single night. This, by far and away, like, I'm trying to do this for you, mainly, to be honest. I mean, I promise you, you're going to have so much fun in these drafts. And when you make a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, you get $25 added to your account with promo code FLOCK. That should be enough, but you also get our rankings, you get our draft guide, you get our tiers, you get our Dynasty Rookie our Dynasty Rookie draft guide. You get hundreds of pages of information. It literally should be like an $80, $90 value just of what you're getting in terms of fantasy football content. And at the same time, you're actually getting $25 added to your account. So you're getting paid to take it. You're getting paid to get in drafts, and you support this channel a ton. Like if you enjoy what I'm doing here at all with these live streams, I'm telling you, there's no better way to show me that you enjoy these live streams than going down there and using promo code FLOCK and Underdog Fantasy. You can find a link in the live chat. You can find a link in the description of the video. Kareem Hunt at the 607. Honestly, I'm kind of fine continuing to pass on running back. I know it sounds crazy, but I think we would be fine if that was the world that we were going to live in. Because when we take a Mahomes here, I think that we're probably going to be in a tough spot at receiver. So Deasonators, he has only taken Joe Mixon so far. Yeah, so we have Alvin Kamara. I think that we can go with a hero running back build. He goes Henderson. So just continuing to just take the wide receivers at the top of the ADP, trying to create the most unique team possible. Let's just go with Adebo Samuel here at the 6'10". And I mean, maybe we get Trey Lance. Honestly, I'm probably going to be wanting to wait until the very, very end on quarterback. But let's go Debo. And don't be surprised if I take another receiver here with this upcoming selection as well. Braden says, how much is the next draft going to be there before? I don't know, my man. I can't commit to anything right now. I will say that I'm confident that these big dog drafts look like they're not going to fill. So Underdog's going to be pumping money into them. So I know that not many of y'all are going to want to get in and chase that extra money that Underdog is putting out there, because I completely understand. Of course, I completely understand that not everybody can go out there and spend $250 on a fantasy draft like that. Of course, that's understandable. But personally, because of all the Patreon support that we've had and how much money I set aside for fantasy football drafts this year, and also Underdog just being a fantastic partner, we can go through and we can be drafting in these leagues. So I want to be taking advantage. And yeah, it sucks not getting a Javonte Williams falling to us, but I'm honestly fine going receiver. We're going to continue to just hammer in the receiver position. So far in this build, we have Kamara at the 103. And then from there, we have just gone crazy with the receivers, including sneaking in a Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes, that's like the one selection that I'm looking back on and going, maybe I don't feel comfortable with that. But based on what we're going to see everywhere else with the running back value that we can have falling to us later on in the draft, I think we're probably fine with all of our other decisions. Now you get a Chark, a Will Fuller. Now let me switch this over real quick. So at this point, of course, I can't lie to y'all. At this point, what we're wanting to see is a ton of receivers go off the board, because we have 5 receivers through the first 7 rounds. And while in this format, that's going to be best ball and you can start up to 4 receivers each and every week, I'm fine continuing to draft them. Of course, we would like tight end value falling to us. Of course, we would like running back value falling to us. So while we're fine drafting a receiver, if that's going to be the value, it's not necessarily the preferred value for us to find. Damian Harris does go at the 708. I mean, Damian Harris very rarely is falling there now. Jackson says each 250 draft you add to the fill percentage by 0.5%. See that it's surprising to see that this contest isn't that big, to be honest. Like, it's just weird seeing like how big the puppy draft is, like the puppy draft with hundreds of thousands of entrants, where this one, I mean, how many people have entered into the big dog so far? It's hundreds. I believe they passed it's like 1.3 thousand. I believe it's like 1.3 thousand. Let me look this up just so I can get the right number for y'all. Yeah, so far in Best Ball Mania, there have been 140,000 people enter. In the puppy draft, there have been 158,000 enter. And in the big dog, 1.5 thousand. It's like 1% of the others. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I think it's going to be a lot more reasonable to actually see your ROI based on how you perform in these drafts. Okay, so Corey Davis goes at the 801. And yeah, Justin McChan, this is by far and away the best team I've seen him have. Some other teams that he had constructed were just straight up punts and like donations to the league pot. But yeah, this one's a strong team. I mean, he has Kelsey at tight end. He has Chubb, Davis, Harris at running back, Amari, Deontay, Odell at receiver. That's a strong team. You can make an argument that team's better than mine. Okay, so from here, we have Logan Thomas to the 802. Okay, come on. I don't even know what the board would look like at this point. Yeah, so I know Raheem Mostert is sliding up a ton in these drafts. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see him go in the next 3 picks. And it's to the point where, okay, Jayan does go with the Mike Williams. Jayan has, okay, Mostert goes. Yeah, so that's what we kind of figured. Jayan has Gibson, Edmonds at running back, and then he has a bunch of receivers as well. Okay, so come on. It looks like we may be going with another receiver, to be completely honest. I know we already have 5 on this team, but it's my $250 to be completely honest, and I want to go out there and have the highest possible return on it. So I'm very confident with our strategy. So even though I know some people in the live chat, even though I know some people in the comment section won't necessarily understand it, I don't necessarily care. If you think I'm a bad drafter, I would love for you to come out and draft against me. I'm drafting every single night, real money leagues. All you have to do is use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, and you can come in and get in these drafts. But yeah, now that A.J. Dillon's off the board, we would have taken A.J. Dillon if he had fallen, but now we're going receiver. Aaron Rodgers goes as well. So yeah, we're not taking Herbert here, to be honest. So let's just bring in Jalen Waddle. Yeah, so we're going to be bringing in Jalen Waddle as our wide receiver 6. So maybe this is a spot where we're actually probably going to end up rostering at least 5 to 6 running backs. We're going to have to roster 3 tight ends based on the tight ends that are already off the board and 2 quarterbacks. So we're just going to get a lot of receivers that should be scoring a decent amount of points. And then later on, we'll be able to find some running backs that have some upside. But we just want to soak up as many receivers as we can here. So Raw goes with a Trey Lance to stack with Ayuk, Trey Sermon, and a George Kittle. So obviously he completes that trifecta. Okay, so now let's see. I believe there's one player in my head that I really want to see fall to us. I wonder if Alien could go. Okay, Alien's probably going to go Justin Herbert. I'm surprised they didn't go Justin Herbert with this last pick. They don't have a quarterback, and they have Keenan Allen on this team. So I'd imagine that's probably like the perfect recipe to go Justin Herbert. So now we're going to get Michael Thomas. Dear Lord, this is a scary team. A scary team. I know a lot of people aren't going to understand it, but I mean, y'all do you. I'm going to do me. Running back, we have Alvin Kamara as our anchor RB. Then from here at receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Claypool, Debo, Galladay, Waddle, Thomas. We have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. Oh my God, that's scary. And real quick, my dog's crying outside, so let me let her in this room real quick. She really wants in. Molly, come here, baby. What's wrong? What's wrong? You want to come in here? You want to come in here? Come in here with me. Come in here with me. You want to go under the desk? There you go, baby. There you go. Good girl. You're a good girl. Okay, we got the dog under the desk. So drafting on Underdog with a dog under the desk. Talk about brand loyalty. I mean, okay, so Jalen Hurts going in. Of course, we want to see these quarterbacks off the board. I mean, the last thing that we are looking for is some quarterbacks falling to us in the 10th round. That would not be ideal whatsoever when we take Patrick Mahomes at the end of the 4th. Okay, so Fallon says, who would be the most productive rookie wide receiver? I mean, I've been hating on him all offseason, but if I had to make a bet on who's the most productive rookie wide receiver, it's clearly Chase. I mean, it's definitely going to be Chase with how much passing volume they have. I would say, I mean, if you were wanting to make a bet on any rookie wide receiver outscores Jamar Chase, but you have to pick your rookie wide receiver. You can't take the field because obviously the field's going to be the favorite. But if you want to pick your wide receiver to go up against my Jamar Chase, I mean, I bet you that would be a profitable bet more times than not. Yeah, and I'll say, guys, with the Michael Thomas selection, I think that this pick is so strong at receiver because we're going to have all the other receivers to produce at the beginning of the season. So Michael Thomas is just going to come in and give us that elite level upside at the end of the year. Now you have Robert Tonyan going at the 9-12. And then Melvin Gordon as well. So Jacoby Myers, come on. Let's get these quarterbacks off the board. Oh, this could be tough for us. This could be tough. Jacob says, do you play poker? I follow a lot of high stakes poker. And like, if I'm ever listening to a podcast, I'm going to tell you like, I am listening to podcasts. If I'm ever watching a YouTube video, I'm watching a YouTube video and it's all just about poker. Like it's my favorite thing ever. And I'll be completely honest. Like if I was smarter, I would try to be a professional poker player, but I know it would be so hard for me to actually go through and study enough and dedicate enough time and have the brain power to be a professional poker player. And I just know that we are already a very profitable fantasy football player and we play fantasy football with the game of numbers. So I respect, like if you're a professional poker player, I think there's very few things in this world that are more impressive than that, to be honest, at least to myself. And I'm trying to do the same thing with fantasy football. The thing is, there are way more people that are significantly bad at fantasy football than there are people that are bad at poker. And that's the thing. Like if I was smarter, I would probably do poker. But I mean, I love football and fantasy football is honestly easy to win with how bad some of these players are. So yeah, let's go through. And Jazzy says, LOL, do they have your dog breed logo on Underdog? That's essentially what this is. This is, I think, technically a golden retriever, but it can look like a Great Pyrenees. That's why I have that logo up there because it looks like my dog. And at the same time, it has the orange background for UT. Okay, so now after this, we're going to get Cole Beasley. And then, okay, so these quarterbacks falling, obviously not ideal for us in the slightest. James Conner goes the 10-08. Not ideal either for us. Gotta see where Deasonators goes. I mean, he has Rodgers, so I'd be pretty surprised he goes with a quarterback. He goes to Nelson Aguilar. Thank the Lord. So here I think that we honestly kind of have to go running back. So we're going to get Michael Carter as our running back 2. Michael Carter going next to a Terrace Marshall. Would you prefer Michael Carter and Jalen Waddle or Ronald Jones and Terrace Marshall? It's honestly something I'm not that confident with our previous selection. Maybe that's somewhere I went wrong. Alien getting Justin Fields. Thank God we get these quarterbacks going off the board. Terrace Marshall goes there. Bryan Edwards. Bryan Edwards, obviously a massive riser in drafts currently. Okay, so let's see where Alien's going to go. He already has 2 quarterbacks. I'm surprised he went with... Okay, Gabriel Davis. Okay, so we honestly kind of get what we want falling to us. It's really down to, do we take Mike Gesicki or do we take Tony Pollard? I'm sorry, Dallas Goedert or Tony Pollard. You know what? Could we possibly go with the Kenyon Drake? We could go with Drake as well. Okay, let's just get Goddard. I mean, I think when we have Kamara, we have the flexibility at running back where we already have that anchor RB. So let's go through and let's show off this team so far. So at running back, we have Alvin Kamara and Michael Carter. At receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Chase Claypool, Deebo Samuel, Kenny Golladay, Jalen Waddle, Michael Thomas. At quarterback, we have Patrick Mahomes. And at tight end, we have Dallas Goedert. And of course, I have to sit here and I have to take my L. I mean, Dallas Goedert was someone that we were drafting way before this, earlier on. Okay, so James says, if Waller is gone, Jefferson, Allen, or Kittle, Allen. I'll say if Waller's gone, then we just want to go Jefferson Allen. Just go Jefferson Allen. And Noah says, trade Odell and Deebo Samuel for Tyler Lockett, ? Personally, it's going to come down to the league format that you're playing in. Like if you're playing in a format where you start 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and a flex, that's going to be shallow enough where you can make a trade like that. However, if you have multiple flex spots or if you have to start 3 receivers, I would actually probably prefer the package. Okay, Rager, 1108, Justin McChan. Okay, so of course we love seeing this auto team. This is kind of where this team gets in trouble. This is what we have seen previously. I mean, going with like 3 quarterbacks here, this has to be so bad. This has to be so bad to go Hurts, Brady, Tannehill. I mean, from here, you only have 3 receivers with Amari, Deontay, Odell. So yeah, no, this team's probably on auto again. I thought this guy maybe worked himself into the draft because the beginning part of the draft actually looked pretty damn good. But now that we see those quarterbacks go off, I think we're pretty excited about it. Jacob says, let's have a stream poker game. Who's in? Maybe in the offseason. In the offseason, I would love to get like a poker stream going. I mean, my man, there would be nothing more exciting for me, to be honest. Like, I literally, my favorite thing to do with my girlfriend is just go through and like play heads up poker. We'll just sit there and play heads up poker for a long time. And she's actually very good as well. So it's surprising because, and Ted says, not many fishes left in poker. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if I was smart enough to be a professional poker player, I mean, I love football. Don't get me wrong. I would do fantasy football at the same time, but I wouldn't be having a YouTube channel. I'd probably be doing fantasy football and professional. Like I'd be playing fantasy football and poker. But the problem is I'm not smart enough to be a professional poker player. At least I don't think I'm smart enough to be a professional poker player. And I can't take the time to commit it to just try out when I know that we're definitely smart enough to crush in fantasy football because I mean, every fantasy football draft you're in, you can find 3 bums. You can find 3 bums in the draft. Whereas if you sit down at the poker table, I mean, you're lucky if there's one guy there that doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, so Fournette goes at the 1204. Devin Singletary at the 1205. Okay, so let's pull this back up. Look at what we're going to be trying to get on this team. So the problem is, like, when we take a Mahomes, even if we like a Trevor Lawrence, it's so hard to take him. Like, it's so hard to consider taking either Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa here. Now we have Traequan Smith at the 1207. And this is Zip 3. He has 1 QB with a Burrow, so possibly he goes. Okay, yeah, he goes Lawrence. I mean, he did have the stack with a Marvin Jones, so that does make sense. Obviously, that helps us out as well. Deasonators only has 3 running backs. Maybe they go running back. Maybe they go. I have no idea where they could go. They go Tyrell Williams. Okay, that honestly kind of helps us out here. I'm not going to say all the players that we are considering, but there are a couple names that I'd be fine with. Let me go through and check out my rankings and my exposures real quick. I'm sorry that I have to do this and I have to keep this off the screen as well. Yeah, so we're just going to get our second tight end coming in and a Jonnu Smith. Now, the question is, I mean, the problem is whenever we have both Goddard and Jonnu Smith, they're going to be on the same bye. So what we're probably going to end up having to do is we're probably going to have to draft a third tight end anyway, which definitely sucks, to be honest, but it's a spot that we put ourselves in. Now we have Sterling Shepard going off the board. I think we have to take Jonnu Smith, however. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And the receivers that we're going to be looking at the very end of the draft are long shots regardless. So, I mean, we can draft a third tight end anyway. It's not going to hurt us too much to take a Donald Parham over another one of those receivers. Now, Alien on the clock. Let's see where they go. They have Herbert, Fields at running back. They go Amaro St. Brown. This falls to us exactly how we wanted. Both the guys that I was looking at was going to be a Jonnu Smith and a Nyheim Hines. Now, the reason why we went with the Jonnu Smith ultimately is because we were looking at these teams here and they all had a considerable amount of running backs, so that it was a little less likely. They went with the Nyheim Hines. Well, let's get Hines in here as our running back 3. Let's show off this team real quick. So at running back, we have a very weak running back room. We have Alvin Kamara, Michael Carter, and Nyheim Hines. Kamara's going to have to hold this ship down, baby. I mean, if Kamara gets hurt, this team is a toast no matter what. However, we are going to be beating every single team in the league at wide receiver 1, at wide receiver 2, at wide receiver 3, in the flex. We have A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Claypool, Debo, Golladay, Waddle, Michael Thomas. And then at tight end, we're probably going to have a decent amount of production considering the fact that we have both Goddard and Jonnu Smith. So yeah, let me know what y'all are thinking about that. I'm honestly probably very excited about how that went for us. Okay, so Komet goes, yeah, so honestly, after we get both Dallas Goedert, Johnny Smith off the board, we're kind of wanting to see these tight ends go because, I mean, I think we are at a spot where we could even maybe not draft the third tight end. Like, if the value never fell to us, I know we would be punting away, like, just say 9 points out of the tight end position 1 week, but it's different than punting a week at tight end versus punting a week at quarterback. At least that's how I'm viewing it. Damian Williams, Alexander Madison, Raheel coming out with a donation. Of course, Raheel. We'll go through and we'll check out the 101. Okay, so this is someone that has been a part of the Flock on Patreon for a very long time now. My man, thank you so much for all your support, always on the channel. And here, checking this out at running back, you have CMC, Miles Sanders, Trey Sermon, and then down there a little further. Okay, thank God. I was going to be really worried if we saw you continue to take running back and pass on receiver, but instead you take a lot of receivers later on, which I really do like. You have Lamb, Ayuk. This Ayuk value kind of pisses me off. Then Gallup as well. And then down there a little further, Curtis Samuel. This Terrace Marshall value is fantastic. Brian Edwards, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So I think you have I don't want to say a very strong wide receiver room, but at least the minimum, an average wide receiver room. Then you have Trey Lance, Tua Tagovailoa. Unsure of drafting Tua here when you have Lance and you took him in the 8th. I would potentially be looking to just take Kirk Cousins a little later on, given the fact that we know Cousins does have a very nice beginning part of his schedule. Yeah, then you have George Kittle at tight end. So I really do like that team. I like that team. Okay, so let's switch this over. Jazzy says, I prefer if you got an elite tight end over an elite quarterback. My man, so would I. But the question is, do you want TJ Hawkinson or do you want Patrick Mahomes? Okay, so now that we're going to be on the clock, we probably should have prepared a little earlier on. God dang, this is why we shouldn't be checking the chat as much as we do. Let's load up Geo here just in case. Actually, it is what it is. We went Geo. I mean, Philip Lindsay could have been intriguing there. Oh, my lordy, guys. This is why I shouldn't be checking the chat as much as I do. It's a $250 draft, and we just took Giovanni Bernard over Ramondre Stevenson. Oh, my God. Okay, don't be upset if I'm not checking the chat as often. Don't be upset if I'm not. We have to prepare. We have to prepare far out from these picks now. Oh, my gosh. That was tough, guys. That was extreme. Oh, my God. You may see me cry on the live stream. Do not be surprised if I cry on the live stream. Please do not be surprised if I cry on the live stream, guys. It is what it is. Grown men cry sometimes. I mean, when you take Giovanni Bernardo over Ramondre Stevenson, I mean, you're going to be sitting here and crying a little bit. Okay, so Randall Cobb goes at the 1502. Most likely going Philip Lindsay. Let's just double check, see if there are any other running backs we could be interested in. I think we have to go Lindsay here, to be honest. Yeah, we're going to go Philip Lindsay as our running back 5. And, God, if we had Stevenson on this team, this team would be significantly better. We have these guys that are going to be playing on third down. We have 3 guys here that are going to have roles in their offenses, so hopefully we can just piece together running back 2 production that way. That's the hope here. Hopefully we just can piece together some running back 2 production. Zach, my man, I already know that, but we've already talked about that a little bit. The problem is the teams that we're looking at, I think, are dead. I mean, with how little receiver that they actually have, these teams have to be dead. So far at receiver, he has Amari, Deontay, Odell, Jamison Crowder. Can that team really be competitive in this format? I don't think so, to be honest. I really don't think it can. And that's why I've been sitting here saying, like, I understand like the thought process that this guy's supposed to be some shark and this guy is max entering these. But at the same time, he has a team where he drafted Kelsey, Ertz, and Cook. So from a roster construction standpoint, I think you can clearly see that this team is losing money. And we have seen like 4 teams like this where, yeah, you may be comfortable with your overall value that you think you're getting at certain players compared to ADP with your rankings. But at the end of the day, the roster construction there is so bad that it has to be losing money. There's no way that can be a profitable team. And we have seen so many teams like that of his. That's why if I'm seeing that name in the draft, I'm actively getting excited. I'm getting excited to see that. Okay. So now we have Eskridge, Deshaun Jackson, both going at the beginning of the 16th. This is a spot where now we are back on the wide receiver watch. I mean, we can go with another running back if we would like. We can get 6 running backs. We're going to need to get one more quarterback, possibly one more tight end, depending on the bye week. But yeah, now we're going to need to at least bring in 2 more receivers to this team, because how many do we have? We have 7 receivers on this build. So say we get 2 QBs, we're going to at least need 9 receivers on this team. So we may potentially go out and we may potentially grab. We'll just see. I don't want to speak too soon. What I do want to do, however, is I want to make sure that we know who's going to be on the board for us and who's going to be intriguing. Okay, Rashad Perriman going at the 1607. Dear Lord. I hope that was an auto pick. Tevin Coleman going. Okay, so there's a player that sticks out to me. We're going to take someone maybe we haven't taken before. But I think it makes a lot of sense with this build. We're going to go with the Chuba Hubbard. We're getting 6 running backs, but guys, this is a 20-round draft. I actually think that when we wait this long in running back, we do have the flexibility where we can go through and we can draft 6 of them. Obviously, this is someone that's not going to have a very large role on his offense, but it's someone that, I mean, if something happened to CMC, he could be a league-winning player. So let's get that pick coming in. And then from here, I don't even want to say that could have been a mistake. I think that we're probably fine with that selection. David Johnson goes at the 16-12. Let me know, do you prefer Hubbard or Johnson? I think when we take Philip Lindsay, we really are locked out of the ability to even draft David Johnson. So I think that at that point, we honestly kind of need Chuba Hubbard. Blake Jarwin goes to the 1701, so probably not going to get a tight end there. Yeah, so now we're going to get Carson Wentz as our second quarterback. That's what we are planning on doing the entire time. When you take a Mahomes at the end of the 4th round, you kind of have to wait until the very end of your draft to get your second QB. So we're going to take Carson Wentz here, and I'm going to go over and look at the $250 lobby to see how many spots need to be filled for this next draft. Because like I said, guys, I'm unsure that this overall contest is going to fill, so I may try to get in another $250 draft right now. Just fire as many shots as I can because I'm kind of viewing it at this point as free money, to be completely honest. So I'm going to see if we can possibly fill another $250 league right now. And yeah, you know what's really good too is I almost forgot about the quarterback position. I almost went with a receiver at that pick. I mean, talk about how bad that would have been and how embarrassing. I would have had to shut down the live stream. I would have probably had to move to a different town. I would have had to, probably shave my head and start wearing like a tank top for every video that we were going to make just so I could pretend to be a different person if we ended up going with a receiver there instead of Carson Wentz. Because imagine us passing on that and then, maybe not even getting like a Mac Jones in the 18th. And so intriguing here to see Jared Goff go over Mac Jones. I don't necessarily agree with that whatsoever. Oh yeah, so there are 3 spots left in the $250 draft. So we're probably going to, we're going to get in another $250 after this. We'll get in another $250 draft after this. Now we have Rashad Penny, Dan Arnold at the end of the 17th. Okay, so maybe we spoke too soon on that getting in another $250 draft because it looks like we may actually need to finish this one up. We got 3 rounds. Okay, Dan Arnold's Eric Ebron. So maybe that's kind of pushing us out of the 3rd tight end that we could potentially get. Duez says, I think taking a 6th running back is a mistake on this build. I will say I completely agree with you if we're talking about Best Ball Mania. I completely agree with you if we're talking about puppy drafts where I think that you need to be prioritizing the upside. But still, I think that we can roster 9 receivers on this team. No problem. So if we can roster 9 receivers on this team, and let's go through and let's look at the receivers that we have. I mean, we have A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, Chase Claypool, Deebo Samuel, Kenny Golladay, Jalen Waddle, Michael Thomas. So I'm not necessarily sure that many receivers down here in this range are going to even crack into our starting lineup with those top-end guys at the very, just probably providing consistency because obviously we can only have 4 of those guys at most in our starting lineup. So it's hard for me to assume that someone like an Allen Lazard is going to be more impactful for us with this construction than a Chuba Hubbard could potentially be. So I could easily be wrong on it. And I will say that I know for a fact that you are right when we're only drafting 18 rounds, but here we're drafting 20 rounds. So I think it's a little different. Jaybird says, Eric Ebron going to the Vikings, ? My guys, imagine Eric Ebron going to Minnesota. That would be fantastic. Hunter Renfrow at the 1805. Kind of upset with that pick. I would have loved to get Hunter Renfrow there. Did any news break about T.Y. Hilton other than he's going to the IR for an undisclosed amount of time? No, nothing did. Hayden Hurst. Mac Jones still available. We can't take him because we have Mahomes. But that is very surprising. And we can't take running back or receiver. We're strictly, running back or quarterback. Sorry, I do not want to end up. We're going to have to take T.Y. Hilton. I understand that he is on the IR for an undisclosed amount of time. But a big thing with T.Y. Hilton is, even if he comes back in like week 8, I think he's a profitable pick here. That it could easily be a mistake. It could be a mistake. Maybe I'm missing out on something that we don't know about because, we have seen T.Y. Hilton falling to the end of the 18th round in some of these other drafts. I think getting him at this point we're going to be fine with, however. So we have 8 receivers here. We can get another tight end with this build as well. Okay, my guys, I am so scared. Okay, so we just got into that other $250 draft. I'm going to show that on the screen after we get done over here. But that other $250 draft, right now, I pulled up the lobby. And it looks like it is just filled with professional after professional after. Oh my God, that looks pretty damn scary. I'm nervous about that other lobby. Okay, from here at tight end. I don't necessarily think that many receivers make an impact here. So we're just going to get O.J. Howard. Both our tight ends are on the same bye. Mathematically speaking, it could be wrong, but we went so wide receiver heavy at the top of this draft. We went so wide receiver heavy. Just look at this team. I think we're possibly fine. It could be a mistake. It could easily be one. But let me go through and let me just queue up a bunch of wide receivers because our last pick's a receiver no matter what. Olamide Zaccheaus, I'm fine with. Amari Rodgers, I'm fine with. Okay, Olamide Zaccheaus is gone. And the other draft is starting right now. The other $250 draft is starting. So let me just go through and load up some of these players that we wouldn't be too sad about getting the last round. And then from here, we'll just load up. Actually, no, we're not loading up. We'll just load up a bunch of different names. That way, in case someone wanted to snipe us on our queue, we're going to be fine. We're getting a receiver no matter what in this last round. And let's switch this over to the other $250 draft. And guys, this is nerve-wracking. You're going to see a lot of shields. I don't recognize that many of these names. I do not recognize that many of these names right here. But let's pull up this draft board. This is another $250 draft. Okay, we did have one of these guys out in our draft the other night. I believe last night we had him in our draft. Okay, but guys, also go down there, drop a like on the live stream. It helps us out so much, my dudes. Drop that like, subscribe to the channel. I mean, it really does help us out. Now we have Derrick Henry at the 105. And also, if y'all don't know what we're doing right now, we're drafting on Underdog Fantasy. This is where we are drafting every single night. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy when you sign up and make a $10 deposit. You can find a link in the description of the video, and through that link with promo code FLOCK, you get $25 added to your account. You get our 2021 draft guide. You get our 2021 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. You get our 2021 rankings. I mean, you get so much in return for just making that $10 deposit, and you help out the channel a ton. So please make sure you go down there and do just that. So now when we're going to be at the 110, we're probably going to look to come away with this turn with one receiver, one running back. So it mainly depends on who's the guy we're taking where. I guess we could look to go running back if we really wanted. I'm just mainly trying to keep a balanced team at the very top. And if we're looking at these drafters, I just don't know what these drafters are going to do. This is a $250 league where this is a name I've never seen before. I've never seen them. Fitch, maybe we've actually seen Fitch. Never seen them. And these members are, I believe they're actually probably in the live stream and members of the flock right now. So it sucks that we have to draft right next to them. So Diggs goes. Let's do a build that I haven't necessarily tried out a ton. Let's go running back at the top. And maybe this allows us to only have to draft 5 running backs with this team instead of going 6 with what we did on the last one. So let's go Aaron Jones at the 110. There's some people subscribing to the channel. Thank you all so much for going down there and subscribing. Gabe says, how much money is on this one? 250. It's another $250 draft going back to back here, my dudes. Back to back on this one. Najee Harris at the 111. Najee Harris, whatever the hell you want to say. I mean, that is kind of surprising to see him go over these other running backs like a Saquon Barkley. My God. Okay, so now you have Eckler. Saquon Barkley goes to the 201, so that's our pipe dream. Darren Waller going. Okay, he has the stones to do what I couldn't pull off. The stones to do. I mean, I literally have talked about potentially going Darren Waller at this 1-2 turn before, and I've done it in $5 drafts. I will be completely willing to admit that in $5 drafts with that large field in the puppy leagues, I'm taking Darren Waller here a lot, diversifying and making sure that we have a team that not other many people have. But going Najee Harris and Darren Waller, Demo's out here. He's on to something. I think he's on. I'm not even going to say it's bad. I think that it could be intriguing, especially as a team that nobody is going to have the combo of those two players. Very interesting. Now you have Nick Chubb at the 204. Yeah, but we're going to take a Jonathan Taylor. Taylor's someone that I have ranked as a first-round pick. I have both Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor ranked as top 10 picks overall. So we're going to go running back here. We haven't done this that often, but it kind of is what it is. I mean, this is the value that we get falling to us. We have Nick Chubb at the 204. Calvin Ridley. Okay, so we have the first team going receiver here. They're passing on like a Joe Mixon to do this and an Antonio Gibson. Okay, so Hopkins goes. Okay, so I'd imagine this is probably Antonio Gibson here at the 207. I could be wrong, but I'd imagine this is going to be an Antonio Gibson selection coming in. This is same null Fitch. I wonder if Fitch, if you are in the live chat right now, let me know. I think maybe that's a name we have seen before being the flock draft. Okay, yeah, so Antonio Gibson does go at the 207. Justin Jefferson. This has been a very standard draft. The only weird thing that we have seen so far is the Najee Harris and Darren Waller selections. It's the only thing that I mean, and I think that probably they do this with a plan to create a team that not many people have. I think they probably do this with a plan to have a very unique team. A.J. Brown goes to the 210. Joe Mixon at the 211. I mean, we have started a lot of these not a lot of these $250 drafts. We've started, I believe, 2 or 3 of these $250 drafts. I mean, it seems like every time we get the 102, we have Joe Mixon falling to us at the 211. Okay, so this looks like it may be a little bit more of a running back heavy draft. If that's the case, I mean, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to the CMC team, with them going a running back, Kittle running back, I have not seen that many teams do that. So I'm honestly probably a little happier now that we decided to go with a Jonathan Taylor in the second round. Okay, Lamb goes at the 303. Party Till She's Hot says that last 250 was intense. My man, I wish I would have looked at your team before we left. I wish I would have looked at your team. Shoot me a DM on Discord with the screenshot of your team. I definitely want to take a peek at it. Okay, so A-Rob goes at the 304. So Andrew is going 3 receivers in a row here with Adams, DK Metcalf, Allen Robinson. I've had that to start a lot in those $5 drafts. I've started that off a ton. Now Terry McLaurin goes to the 305. And guys, if you have not, like literally, how does this live stream not have over 300 likes on it by now? I mean, let's get these likes up. This is we've done $500 worth of fantasy drafts tonight. What else do you need to see? What else do you need to see to drop a like on the live stream? Dear Lord. Okay, so now we have the team that went a receiver in the first 2 rounds here with Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley. Now they're going to be back up on the clock. I already know exactly what we're wanting to do at the 310. Hopefully we see Mahomes go off soon because, I mean, we got Mahomes at like the 409 in the last draft. And, I mean, I wasn't a massive fan of it, but we did decide to do it anyway. Now this is Debrew Was, whatever the hell his name is. Mr. Morrison says, I'm Demo. Yeah, I wanted to be unique. Yeah, I think, man, that's literally exactly what I've done in a lot of the puppy drafts. Like, I mean, because mainly the puppy is such a large field. I think you really want to be unique with that. But I've been taking Darren Waller before at the 201. Like, I've taken Calvin Ridley and Darren Waller together a lot of drafts, to be honest. I've just been too scared to do it here. It's probably bad for me to think this way, but in a $250 draft, I know we shouldn't be adjusting that much, but it's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. Okay, now we are in the heat of the wide receiver run. I mean, we have a receiver for about 8 picks in a row here, going from Keenan Allen to Cooper Kupp. I mean, pretty much the tier drop off for me is going to be right after. I mean, I would say that the tier starts here with CeeDee Lamb, and it's probably going to end probably with our next pick, to be honest. David Montgomery at the 311. Okay, so he goes Harris, Waller, Montgomery. I'm honestly probably excited to see Montgomery get picked there because it makes it likelier that we actually get a receiver that we like falling back to us. So Godwin and Julio each go. It's Demo on the clock. What is he going to do here? Where did Mike Evans go in this draft? Okay, you went right. Okay. Mahomes goes. I wasn't considering Mahomes. We get DJ Moore coming in. Okay, so Demo completely punts receiver so far. I mean, he has Harris, Montgomery, Mahomes, Waller. I will say that I have tried making it work a lot with like Kelsey and Mahomes in the first and the fourth, and I can never pull it off. So if he can create a strong build out of this, I mean, I'm definitely going to be watching this 111 throughout the rest of the draft. I'm definitely going to be watching it. I think that this could set up to be a very unique team. Chris Carson at the 406. Deontay Johnson at the 407. Josh Allen at the 404. Okay, so he goes with Stephon Diggs. Still, so hard for me to take that. Like, we took Mahomes here, and I still was like, I was squirming as I made the pick. I just think it's so tough to take Mahomes at the 402. Like, if you had DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, T. Higgins off the board already, then yeah, we're going Mahomes. DeAndre Swift, T. Higgins. Okay, so Andrew starts 4 receivers in a row here. 4 receivers in a row for Andrew. This is a $250 draft. And let's see what running backs he's going to get. I mean, you can get solid running backs at the 6-7 turn in this draft. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than what you're actually going to have in a regular fantasy draft. Okay, James Robinson at the 411, Kyler Murray at the 501. I honestly really like seeing these elite quarterbacks go off the board. I'm fine drafting 3 quarterbacks in this league. Like, I honestly, in a 20-round draft, may prefer drafting 3 quarterbacks and then just going through and getting a bunch of receivers. So Am Carter here has a very similar build to what we did. He goes Kamara, AJ Brown, Lamb, Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy. So a very similar build. He's getting Kamara, and then he's going through and he's getting just a horde of wide receivers to go through for his team. And Jaggy coming out with the donation says, concerns with Kupp not having the same chemistry with Matthew Stafford. I'll say, I mean, it's the same situation there with everybody, is it not? Am I missing something? I mean, you don't have Robert Woods with that chemistry. I'm not necessarily worried about it really at all, my man. Okay, Self-Made Fantasy comes out and says, PPR draft, DeAndre Swift or Josh Jacobs. My man, there we're going to go DeAndre Swift. We're going Swift in a full PPR. And we're going Swift in half PPR as well. Hawkinson, Andrews, we would have considered one of those tight ends if they would have fallen here to us. Let's pull this back up. So we have a team that's honestly, I mean, just the definition of balance so far. Odell Beckham Jr. goes to Dr. Stanky Leg here. Okay, there are 3 players that I'm looking at with this next pick. There are 3 players that I'm looking at. Okay, Mike Davis goes. That's not one of those guys. Okay, so we're going to get a player that we want here. I'm gonna have to be quiet on who it's going to be, however, just because I definitely don't want to get sniped. And we're probably going to get him, yeah. So Gus Edwards goes. So we're actually going to take a Jamar Chase, and hear me out on this. A big reason why we're taking Chase is the majority of these drafts, he actually went at the 4 or 5 turn. So very few teams have Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore in the combination with Jamar Chase. And while I was hating him when he was going in the middle of the 4th round, and y'all know I've been adamant on that, I think that there's just a small chance that people are overreacting to the preseason. So we're going to get Chase in here. I know, and we're going to be very quiet. We're going to be very quiet until we're on the clock with the next pick, because $250 draft, I can't be giving away exactly what we're trying to do here. Lamar does go. Lamar would have been our next pick. Lamar's a really good pick there. Devonta Smith goes to 601. Was not considering him. Like, God, the pressure's on. What sucks so bad about this pick is you can go anywhere in, like, it's all about the same. I was really thinking of getting a receiver here. The problem is it's just so damn hard. This is, God, I hate what we did. Oh my gosh. We're going to take Josh Jacobs in the beginning of the 6th round. It's not ideal. Like, when you take Jacobs, I kind of want to take Josh Jacobs as a running back 1. I hate getting Jacobs on a team where we went with running backs early. And this makes us look back and very much regret our selection of a Jonathan Taylor there. I mean, I think that going back, I love Jonathan Taylor, the player, but if we would have known that we were getting Josh Jacobs at the beginning of the 6th, we probably should have just looked a little further out and have realized that possibility. And instead, we should have possibly gone with just say a Calvin Ridley in the 2nd and then get Jacobs in the 6th. I would really prefer the construction there. But anyway, we are going to bring in Jacobs. So far we have Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, and now we can only draft 5 running backs. We can't draft 6 running backs. It doesn't matter if the next 2 running backs we get are at the very end of the draft. We're most likely going to be bringing in 3 quarterbacks here, to be completely honest. I mean, I think that when we pass in this tier, unless we get guys that we really like a little later on, probably going to be going through and getting 3 QBs. Okay, so Jaggy says, Woods is more of a playmaker. Kupp was Goff's go-to. It's hard for me to say that for sure, my man. It's hard for me to say that for sure. I mean, I understand that you want to have that thought process, but We don't know. All we know is the stats of the projected, of the volume that Cooper Kupp has had over the past 2 seasons. And all we know is the efficiency should increase now that Matthew Stafford's coming in. That's what I mainly want to be focusing in on. We can try to get in the weeds like that, but I think a lot of times it's going to be a lot harder to tell. And you're more so going to be psyching yourself out and not necessarily paying attention to what actually matters. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine getting Cooper Kupp here at the 310. Like, I like getting Cooper Kupp there at the 310. Okay, so Deebo Samuel goes at the 607. DY says, bro, forget 5. You need 4 on this team. I'll say we definitely need 4 on this team if it's going to be an 18-man draft. I just think we need to be making the adjustment in a 20-man league. A 20-round draft, we have to be making the adjustment going, well, yeah, we have our strict running back rules for the puppy. We have our strict running back rules for Best Ball Mania. And another thing is you don't need to have the same kind of upside in the big dog. In the big dog, you can go through and you can have a floor case as well. So you have Sermon going. And of course, at this point, what we want to see is we want to see running backs getting drafted. Not a spot that we put ourselves in very often. Not a spot we put ourselves in very often because the majority of the time, we are going through and just praying that, we get running backs falling back to us because we have gone with like 6 running backs in the first 7 rounds. 6 receivers in the first 7 rounds. However, we start this off 3-3, which of course is a little concerning at receiver. And also, guys, if you are just now coming into the live stream, we are streaming every single night real money fantasy football drafts. So take the lead of what other people are doing. Go with only one Don, Anthony, Death Knight, Kevin, Corey, Silver. It's Deggy. We have a ton of people subscribing to the channel. Thank you all so much. We have Atticus, Keto, Lee, DY, Juan, Tim Rogers, Gage, Straight, 18 Wheeler, Mel, Braden, Patrick, Scotty. Thank you all so much for subscribing to the channel and joining the flock. Make sure you drop a like on the live stream as well, guys. Okay, so Miles says, who was your first pick? Let me go through and show y'all the entire draft board really quick. We started this draft off with Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor. Then we end up getting a Josh Jacobs here. But we need to stop looking at the chat. We need to start figuring out our next selection. Okay. So I think I have a decent idea of what we're going to be looking to do. I can tell you for sure we're at least getting a receiver with this upcoming pick. Yeah, so we're getting a receiver with this next pick. Damian Harris, obviously, it's good value at the 708 at this point. Will Fuller goes. Yeah, so we're just bringing in Mike Williams. It's not that hard of a decision. Someone with an incredibly high average at the target. Hopefully, we do see some of those random spike weeks getting into our starting lineup. Now, McCole Hardman goes. Now, with this next pick, Raheem Mostert's going significantly before this in the majority of drafts. If we were to draft Raheem Mostert here, I think we would put ourselves in a spot where we only had to draft 4 running backs. Okay, Raheem Mostert goes at 801. Thank God. I did not want to take Raheem Mostert. I did not want to. I think we're actually going to pass on a Landry here, and instead we're going to take a Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle has a higher upside to maybe spike into our starting lineup. Actually, you know what? We could be maybe going with... We're going to instead go with our... We're going to go with our first tight end here in Logan Thomas. Let's have Logan Thomas at the 803. It could easily be a mistake, but I think if we get Logan Thomas here, what this maybe allows us to do is only have to draft one more tight end later on in this draft. So Thomas, that could have easily been a mistake. But yeah, we're going to get him there at the 803. And we're going to be pretty weak at receiver. But we're going to load up with a ton. We're probably going to come away with 10, 11 receivers, because when we get Thomas there, I think we can just consider having 2. So if we do some quick math, even if we draft 3 quarterbacks, we are going to be able to go through and say just roster. Yeah, we can roster 10 quarterbacks because 10 receivers, because we do 3 QBs, 2 tight ends, 5 running backs, and then a ridiculous amount of wide receivers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers goes at the 806. Now, I know a lot of people probably also wanted us to go with a Justin Herbert, considering the fact that we had a Mike Williams here. Personally, I just think that we're going to be able to find quarterback value a little later on, where I'm not necessarily as comfortable with us potentially finding that tight end. Okay, so now let's go through. And Fallon says wins the next draft. Okay, the next draft is as soon as we get done with this one, my dude. The next draft is actually, it's going to depend on the time we get done with this one. I'll say that. Let's figure out what time we get done with this one. Justin Herbert does end up going at the 808. And we'll show off this draft board really quick for anybody just now coming into the live stream. Dakota says 10 quarterback build. Yeah, that would be really funny. Log into a big dog and get a 10 quarterback build going. Okay, Justin Machan, we have seen his rankings go with Jalen Hurts there every single draft. I'll say you're supposed to be a professional DFS grinder and you have 100% exposure to certain players. You don't care about your roster construction. It sounds like it's just punting money down the drain. I mean, that sounds so bad. Okay, so now from here, Thomas at the 902. We do really like to see Thomas. I mean, if he would have fallen to us at the end of the ninth, that would have been really nice. JG coming out with the donation says, Samus Weiss is a great late tight end break. Heard it here first. I don't even know who that is. I know I'm probably embarrassing myself when I say this, but I'm going to look that up. Who are you talking about right now? Okay, so he makes the Washington roster. He has... Okay, so he's a former basketball player, it looks like. Okay, so if he's a former basketball player, I'll say, I mean, maybe he turns into something 4 or 5 years from now, but I'm not necessarily expecting this guy to be someone that we need to be worrying about in 2021. Okay, Rojo goes. Of course, we're not necessarily too excited about that. And there's a guy that I really want here. There's a guy that I want. Yeah, so we actually get him. We're going to bring in Tyler Higbee here as long as the bye weeks don't line up. Okay, so the bye weeks don't line up. So great thing with Higbee is now we are 100% comfortable. We are only drafting 2 tight ends. We are 100% comfortable. I think that we have great tight end productions between the two, Logan Thomas and Tyler Higbee. And now that we only have to draft 2 of them as well, and we can load up on more wide receivers later in this draft. Yeah, I'm excited about that. And honestly, I'm not even going to ask for your opinion on that. I think that's the right decision. Nick Kane comes out and says, beware of Big Daddy. Okay, so I'm assuming Nick is Big Daddy. We'll go through and we'll check out that team right after this. We'll check out that team. Okay, so from the 112, Zach Moss goes to the 911. Love Zach Moss, and he's a big reason why I'm actually drafting wide receivers early is because you can get him at this 9-10 turn. But the problem is we just have too many running backs on this team. Ruggs goes. Okay, so there's someone that I'm looking at. Aguilar goes. So I'm assuming that we're probably going to be bringing in Jacoby Myers. Let me just star him up real quick. If we were going to go anything else, I mean, we don't have a potential stack with either Brady or Lance. So we have too much running back production to go with a Carter or a Gordon here. We're done looking at tight end entirely. Yeah, so I think we're actually going to get a Jacoby Myers as our 5th wide receiver. Obviously, he gets a bump up now that we do have Mac Jones coming in. So let's go through. And I know it's a gross pick, guys, but we need receiver. We need receiver, and that's why I'm mainly drafting receiver early, so we don't have to be making those gross picks a little later on. I mean, what definitely sucks is if we would have known that we could have gotten Robert Tonyan in the 10th, we would have gone with Elijah Moore at the 9-10 and instead gone with a Jacoby Myers at the 10-03. But the problem is we just didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know it was going to happen. Okay, Melvin Gordon goes to the 10-06. We like seeing those picks. We like seeing those running backs go off and those tight ends go off. I mean, the best thing that we could ever imagine right now in these drafts are tight ends going off the draft board. And let's go through and let's see if we have any other intriguing teams. Okay, so here this is Andrew. I mean, you can kind of tell that he's a crusher by the way that he is going through and constructing this roster. I mean, at receiver, Adams, Metcalf, A-Rob, Higgins, Claypool, Mooney, Rondell. And then he has Russell Wilson to stack with Adike Metcalf. He has Trey Sermon as his lone running back 1 here. So he actually brings in another quarterback in Justin Fields. I'm very intrigued with that whenever I figured he was probably going to go like a James Conner there. I figured he was maybe going to double tap the running back position. Okay, so Bateman goes to the 10-12, not considering Bateman. I think when we already have some of those rookies on our team, like when we have a Jamar Chase, it's going to steer us a little further away from Rashad Bateman. Okay, so Ace here has Hollywood and Bateman honestly kind of looks a little bit like a reach here. So I'm assuming maybe he has Lamar. He doesn't have Lamar, and he had this build. This is very intriguing, too. This is a highly experienced drafter. So he starts CMC, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kareem Hunt at running back. And he gets a fourth guy in here in Kenyon Drake. Let's check out Big Daddy's draft real quick at the 112. Running back, he has Eckler, Barkley, Raheem. At receiver, he has Godwin, Julio, Devontae, Chark, Elijah Moore, Henry Ruggs. I'll say some of these picks I don't necessarily agree with, like the exact player. However, I think from a construction standpoint, I mean, getting the elite quarterback, going through, getting the running back touches at the very top, and then from there, getting a ton of receivers with upside. I love the construction. Like, I don't agree with like getting a Devonta Smith here instead of like a Tyler Boyd or a Deebo Samuel. I think that you probably need to go Deebo or Tyler Boyd. But outside of that, I do like that team. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. And guys, if you are just now coming into the live stream, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We're doing real money fantasy football drafts every single night, guys. Make sure you go down there, drop that like, and subscribe. Okay, so now we have... I'm pretty sure we're getting a receiver here. So now we just have to kind of figure out what receiver that we want. I mean, we could start considering running backs as well. But honestly, considering Demo and Big Daddy both have 3 between us, I don't necessarily think that we have to do that. And we're no longer looking at tight end. We're no longer looking at tight end. We're done at tight end. This is the latest that I have seen Trey Lance fall in months. Yeah, so we don't have a stack here, but it doesn't really matter because Lance does have the rushing upside. So we're going to get Lance. And this may be able to be a spot where we only have to do 2 quarterbacks. Like we may only have to draft 1 more. So unless there was a report coming out that says Lance's finger injury is more serious than initially thought, I love that pick there. I think that Lance is the easy selection. Honestly, I don't even think it's that close. So now after this, you get Tyrell Williams off the board. Obviously, Tyrell Williams, a massive riser after Rashad Perriman getting cut. Jay Gee says, how much can you bench? Sadly, now it's a lot less impressive than it once was. But if y'all don't know, I was actually on the powerlifting team at the University of Texas. And my best set of bench ever is you know what they do at the combine when they bench 225 for reps at like 161 pounds. So I weighed 160 pounds. I benched 225 for 12. And I was on the powerlifting team. So you know it's not someone holding the bar and spotting me with it. You know it's legit. Okay, so yeah, now we get a Bryan Edwards falling to us. I mean, I feel like we just got some gifts handed to us. Am I wrong in saying this? But I feel like Bryan Edwards is a gift here as well. I mean, we need another receiver. Yeah, so let's bring in Bryan Edwards. I feel like you have a very hard time, at least I have a very hard time drafting from like the 109, 110, 111. But I feel like we've done a damn good job in this draft. I mean, we have Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs at running back. At receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, Mike Williams, Jacoby Myers, and Bryan Edwards. We have Logan Thomas and Tyler Higbee at tight end. And we have Trey Lance at quarterback. I mean, I would have never assumed that we were coming away with this 11-12 turn with the combination Trey Lance and Bryan Edwards. I'm very excited about that. Okay, Paris Campbell goes to the 12:05. And guys, also, if y'all have never seen our combine video, I literally, when we hit 10,000 subscribers, I did the NFL combine. And I actually went through and I included that video of me benching 225 for 12 in there. If you want to see that. It's not the same time we recorded it because we recorded that like during like COVID. So I couldn't go into a gym and take my mask off and have a bunch of other people like recording it and stuff. So it was like recorded beforehand. Also at the time it was recorded, I probably couldn't bench 225 for 12. But yeah, it was good. And also it was like one of those sets where like, you know, that you're feeling yourself. Like you're like, oh my God, I'll never be this strong ever again. It was like one of those, like it was someone spotting me that was on the powerlifting team. That was like one of the captains of the powerlifting team. He's like way stronger than me. I was one of the weaklings on the team. So it was like just full on adrenaline, probably had God knows how much caffeine. It's definitely like, it's not something I could have gone in there and done regularly. It was like once in a lifetime. Okay. Jay Geek says Sammy Reese put up 225 by 31. That's rare for a tight end. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Fallon says Kevin Durant couldn't lift 225 for the the NBA combine. God dang. Does that mean I'm a more impressive athlete than Kevin Durant? I think probably so, even though Kevin Durant's like a 7-foot shooting guard and I'm like a 5'10" fantasy football podcaster. I guess that means I'm probably a more impressive athlete. At least that's what I'm assuming. The math checks out here. The math checks out. Okay, so guys, considering the fact that we are having more people come into the live stream after the Georgia Clemson game ended, we'll maybe get another draft going after this. It's going to be late. It's going to be late, but it's a Saturday night. So drop a like. Drop a like. Let's get another draft going. Okay, so now at the 13-10, we're not looking tight end. I mean, Evan Ingram can be a value and everything, but we still can't look at him. We don't necessarily have any stacks with those quarterbacks that are available in this immediate range. So we need to kind of figure out where we could potentially go here. Okay, I know a couple of ways that I think we want to take this. And I'm only going to say one of these players. I'm just going to say the guy that we're going to draft because I want the other guy to probably fall to us. We're going to get him, I think. If looking at this team, I think we probably get him. Diami Brown. Okay, so we get Alexander Madison falling to us. I think it's like the perfect running back for if we're like looking for some upside. Yeah, we're going to bring in Alexander Madison as our running back 4 here. That is a no-brainer pick in my opinion. Stevenson goes. I may have lied to you. No, I think we're fine having Alexander Madison over Ramondre Stevenson. It's not actually. No. God dang. We just need to scroll down further. The ADP is messed up with these big dog drafts. Evan Ingram goes to the 13-12. That helps us out a lot. We're not looking at Evan Ingram. Okay, yeah, so we get one of our guys making it to us here. There are 2 players that I'm going to be looking at, and we're fine with either. Yeah, we should have gone Stevenson over Alexander Madison. That was 100% a mistake on my part. Like, once we have Mac Jones getting named the starter, Stevenson's the guy to go with. J.D. McKissick off the board. So now at this point, I think that we're actually just going to go with either Amara St. Brown or KJ Hamler. Like, if we're looking at this team, they're like literally neck and neck for me. This is how lame I'm going to be. They're so close for me, and I've probably never said this out loud on a live stream, but let's just use it as a tiebreaker because I don't know how else we're going to choose this guy. Let's just use the fact that Amara St. Brown has a week 9 bye, and we currently don't have any other receivers on a week 9 bye. This is like the weirdest thing ever. Are y'all seeing our receiver buys here? Of course, I didn't do this on purpose because if you're trying to do this on purpose, you're drafting a bad team. Like, you're probably paying attention to the wrong details. But I just have never experienced this. Like, not a single one of these receivers overlaps. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. So now I think all we have to do to unlock the ultimate cheat code is look for a receiver with a week 12 bye week. That's my assumption here. That's what I think that we honestly maybe have to do. Look for a receiver with a week 12 bye week. Now, Hamler goes directly after. Okay, so let's scroll down just slightly. After KJ Hamler goes, I mean, there aren't going to be that many more receivers that I think are super intriguing. Like, I think Hamler is probably the last guy in the tier that I was looking at. I think Amara St. Brown and KJ Hamler were actually better options than some of these other guys that were going before them. Like, I was really excited to see both of them falling to us there. Let me check the chat. See y'all screaming at me for going with Alexander Madison. Thank you, Jay Bird. I saw your message in the chat. Thank you so much, Jay Bird. I do appreciate that. Matthew says you've done this twice. Yes, I've done this twice. And yeah, guys, this is a $250 draft right here. This is a $250 draft. Make sure y'all go down there and drop a like on the live stream. Drop a like on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel. We do this very, very often. We get some real money fantasy football drafts going every single night. We upload videos every single day. Make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel, drop that like, helps us out a ton. And of course, if y'all don't know this already, I have no idea how you don't know this. Where we are drafting right now is on Underdog Fantasy. This is by far and away my favorite place to draft fantasy football leagues in 2021. I mean, what's so great about Underdog Fantasy is if you go out there and if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and you make a $10 deposit, I mean, you actually get $25 added to your account, and you can find that through the link in the description. And that's not even it. You get our rankings, you get our draft guides, you get our tiers, you get hundreds of pages of information, at least like an $80, $90 value. And all it costs you is a $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy. And that $10 is then getting transferred over to $35. You're getting $25 added to your account. And you can come out in a live stream with me, getting some real money fantasy football drafts. So make sure you go out there and do that, my dudes. Make sure you do that. Okay, now we love seeing the tight ends go off the board. I mean, we kind of need to see these tight ends start getting drafted. I mean, once we have just both Higbee and Logan Thomas, the reason we get those guys there is, I mean, we just don't want to have to draft another one the entire way through. And I know we're pulling this up pretty far away, but the thing is, we can't be making mistakes here. We really can't. We made a mistake in the last live stream, and it's a tune and feel out draft. I can't be doing that. We also don't want to be looking at tight ends. Okay, so let's pull this up real quick. I know a lot of people here are saying that we should only draft 4 running backs here. I don't agree with you. I think that we should honestly probably draft an extra one. I think we should probably draft 5. The big thing is, do we want to be drafting 3 quarterbacks? Okay, Josh Palmer goes. Okay, so a couple of our options. I mean, I was going to consider both Philip Lindsay and Josh Palmer. Now they're off the board. I think that some upcoming picks a lot less exciting. Okay, I kind of know one player that we're going to go with here. You know, we probably need to get a quarterback. Now that we have Darnold off the board, you know what? There's a QB that completes a stack for us that's going to go a little later. We're just going to draft Sammy Watkins. Let's just bring in the receiver. And I know that was probably a massive mistake. I understand that was probably a big mistake. It is what it is. I think how we're going to dictate if we're drafting 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this build is if they leave us one in the 17th round. We're drafting a quarterback here in the 16th, no matter what. Like, we kind of have to. But we're going to bring in Sammy Watkins at the 15-10, just looking for those spike weeks at receiver. I think Sammy Watkins could provide us a random spike. Thank God we get these tight ends going off. This is like the best. This is like Christmas. It's like Christmas right now. Okay, so from here, Demo, he's probably going to go with a quarterback. He goes Byron Pringle. So I understand that you actually have Big Ben and Daniel Jones ahead of Derek Carr in ADP, but I actually think that given this team and the construction that we've had, we're probably going to be going with Derek Carr. Like, I mean, we already make the bet here with, let's just make sure the bye weeks check out. Yeah, so the bye weeks check out. So we made the bet with a Josh Jacobs that this offense is going to be good. And at the same time, we also do have Bryan Edwards on this team. So I think it does make sense just going and getting Derek Carr here. I know it's a little bit of a reach, but it is bringing in that correlation to our starting lineup. We will potentially draft a 3rd quarterback depending on what ends up falling to us, just because obviously we may have to be slightly worried with the injury to Trey Lance that we may end up having to just cover some more weeks at the beginning of the season. But yeah, just the more tight ends we see go off the board, the better. And Jaggy coming out with another donation. Thank you, my dude. Thank you. Let me go through and see where that went. It says, do you do daily fantasy? Yes, I play daily fantasy, but a big thing is the reason I feel comfortable going through and like the reason I started making these videos is because I had the track record of being a very profitable player over a large sample in fantasy football and especially in dynasty fantasy football. However, the problem is I don't have that track record with DFS. I will say 90% of people that play DFS are losing players. Like there's a very small subsection of DFS players that are actually winning ones. And I am not one of those. I would hope that that maybe changes sometime soon. So I do play on my own. I don't make content about it because I just want to be making content on stuff that I feel comfortable with and I feel like confident putting out there, because I don't want to necessarily be giving y'all quote unquote advice and then you take that advice and then you lose money. I don't want to do that, even though I know like making DFS content is very profitable for people who do it. So I'll say maybe it's something that I consider doing down the road. Like maybe I do it this season and I just put out like the disclaimer at the beginning of every video saying I'm not a profitable DFS player. You should not be listening to my advice. This is entertainment purposes only. We may have to put that out if we're going to make any DFS content. Same thing with, I know a lot of people are asking us if we're going to do like sports betting content and stuff. We could potentially do the same thing there. The problem is I just know that, I mean, there are a very, 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 very few, like a handful of people in the entire world. And none of them are on YouTube, by the way. None of them are on YouTube. None of them have podcasts. There's maybe 5 guys on the entire planet that are profitable sports bettors over a large enough sample to say so with confidence. And I'm definitely not one of those guys. And I'm willing to admit that. I mean, obviously, it would be absurd if I try to come out here and I try to tell you that I was. So, I mean, maybe we go through and maybe we talk about that as well. It just really depends on my schedule. And as well, if we do talk about stuff like that, I'm just going to have to put out the massive disclaimer that I'm a donkey and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Steve the Weave says 98% of DFS players will never beat the algorithm abusers. Yeah, exactly. And also, even the algorithm abusers are having a hard time winning the game right now, because I follow the DFS community a lot, because obviously that's where a lot of the money in fantasy football is. So I follow the community a lot. And a lot of those even algorithm people, they're having a very hard time winning now because the game's been almost solved, if that makes sense. Like there were a lot of, like, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of profitable DFS players back not that long ago, just 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, if you're playing DFS, it's not that hard of a game. Let me repeat that. It's not that it's not a hard game, but there are a lot of people that were playing it and having success while doing so. Like there were multiple people that were making great salaries off of the game DFS. Now, I do not think that's the situation any longer. And now when we have Daniel Jones going, do we take Mac Jones here? Since this is 20 rounds, we're not as strong at receiver as we were with the last team. Mac Jones, we're going to use the tiebreaker that we did get a stack in with Jacoby Myers. So I'm going to try to explain that off, as that's why we're making this selection. So let's bring in Mac Jones as our 3rd quarterback here. Just mainly trying to cover up the Trey Lance scores at the beginning of the season. Then we're going to have 3 draft picks left. We're done looking QB. We're going to draft 2 more receivers. So we'll have 10 total receivers in this team, 5 running backs. So we have Jared Goff going at the 17-11. And yeah, if we wanted another quarterback, we couldn't pass on him there because, I mean, here I believe Demo only had 1 quarterback on his team. So it's very possible that he would have gone with both Jared Goff and Mac Jones. I was really looking at see what was going to happen here if this was going to be a pick of Daniel Jones. Rashad Perriman goes again. Am I missing something? Are people excited about Rashad Perriman in Chicago? Like, am I missing something there? Latavius Murray honestly would have been someone that we were going to take. Tony Jones goes there. Yeah, so I think we get Tyson Williams. I feel like we've been drafting him a lot in these $250 drafts, but getting him here at like pick 207 feels pretty damn good to me. And I think he fits like the mold that we're kind of looking for with this build. So yeah, we're going to take him here. I know it's a quote unquote reach according to ADP, but I feel like that's a pretty good pick. I feel like it's a good pick. So let's go through, show off this team. So at running back, we have Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. And then we also have Alexander Madison and Tyson Williams. And then at receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, Mike Williams, Jacoby Myers, Brian Edwards, Amaro St. Brown, Sammy Watkins. And then we have 3 quarterbacks in Lance, Carr, and Jones. And then we ended up drafting both Tyler Higbee and Logan Thomas at tight end. Yeah, so at this point, every receiver that goes off the board, it's a little dagger. It's a little dagger in the heart because we're definitely drafting a receiver with our last 2 picks. I mean, this team is 100%. You know what? We probably made the mistake in drafting Trey Lance there, because if we were going to spend that kind of capital on him, I think we need to be making sure that we go through and just look at it and say, well, we're only going to be doing so if we're only drafting one more quarterback in the draft. Like, that's kind of the rule that I think maybe we have to have. A JG says single entry tournament on DFS can avoid whales. Okay, my man, I'll say if you are, that's exactly kind of what I plan is single entry tournaments with DFS. And I'll say whales, just as a heads up for future reference, a whale is a term for someone that plays a lot with high volume, like someone that's rich. It's essentially a rich person that doesn't know what they're doing. That's a whale. So like whales are, you don't want to avoid whales. You want to find whales. Like whenever you're going out there and you're searching in a contest, you're searching for whales. Okay. Gainwell, Demarcus Robinson. And I know a lot of people want a $10 draft. I'm going to go through and just see if how many spots are available in another 250. Okay, I'm going to sit in this next 250, and if it fills by the time we get to this, if we get filled by the time we are done with this draft, then I'll go through and I'll fire this one up. If not, no big deal. We'll do a $10 draft after this. So it's just going to depend on if that $250 draft, I'm in the lobby right now. There are 6 spots left. It probably won't fill. Maybe it does. If it doesn't fill, we'll just leave and then get a $10 draft going. Now we need to figure out what we're going to be doing at receiver here. So receiver, let's pull this up right now. Yeah, so it's no secret we're double tapping the receiver position. There are a lot of options that are not exciting at all. Wayne Gallman going, we do like to see that. So we're going to end up taking Quintus Cephas here, but I really want to be doing some more research on the next guy that we're going to want to take. So we're not going to take that right away. We're just going to let the timer dip down. I'm sorry I'm being quiet, guys. I'm just making sure that this is a $250 draft. The last picks are very important here. Deshaun Watson goes to the 1911. I was taking Watson in the Best Ball Mania previously, but at this point when we're so close to the season, I think that maybe it's a wasted pick. I mean, most likely it's a wasted pick, but I think even like the upside case, maybe the outcome of it hitting is so low that we don't want to be chasing it. I don't even know what we want with our next selection. Devin Duvernay goes. This is such a gross pick, and I know people are going to laugh at me for taking it. Might as well take someone who has second round NFL draft capital, who does have elite speed where he can possibly see a spike week. If we were going to take a tight end, like honestly, I think when we took Higbee, we committed to having to go through and draft 10 wide receivers because we waited so long in the other positions. So let's go through and let's show off this draft board. And it looks like we have 5 spots left in that $250 league. If you want to join, it's on Underdog Fantasy in the Big Dog contest. But I'd imagine that by the time this draft is over, that draft is not filled. So we may go through and instead just get a $10 draft going in the live chat. I'm probably not going to be doing any more $50 drafts in the live chat. I apologize for that. But I want to be saving all my money for the public contest on Underdog, because when we set up a private draft that I send out and through a link in the live chat, then that's going to be a spot where Underdog's not pumping any money into it. Like Underdog is not guaranteeing any prizes there. Obviously, yeah, the price is guaranteed, but there's no extra guarantees based on a large field contest. The reason why we're doing these $250 drafts on Underdog is because, I mean, it looks like there's going to be overlay. It looks like Underdog's going to have to add money to the league pot. So I want to save my money for these drafts. So if we're going to get a private draft going in the stream, I think from now on, we just do $10 drafts. We just do $10 drafts because I think we do want to be getting just a lot of those $250 drafts in. So we're not going to do another one tonight. I'm going to leave that lobby right now. And instead, we'll set up a $10 draft, and I'll send this out in the live chat. And guys, if you have yet to go down there and join Underdog Fantasy, make sure you do so, my dudes. Make sure you go down there. Use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You can find a link in the description of the video. Use promo code FLOCK, and when you use promo code FLOCK, you get $25 added to your account with a $10 deposit. On top of this, you actually get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide. On top of that, you actually get our 2021 rankings and tiers. So make sure, my dudes. Okay, so Chapman says we are on the clock in our current Patreon Dynasty League. So let me send out that link real quick for y'all to get into our next draft. And then let me go and we'll get this going real fast. We'll get this going fast. Okay, so we just sent that link out in the live chat if anybody wants to join our private $10 draft. And then from there, I think that we should be probably good. Yeah, let's pull this up. Okay, so we get the 111 here as well. So with the 111, I'm fine with it. It is what it is. Let's check out the names that we have. I mean, we have Mr. Padilla in the chat. Okay, so guys, he actually came out to the Flock meetup a long time ago, my man. Thank you. Happy to have you out here. We have Dwayne Wade out yet again. Wade, I'm sorry you were not able to get that internship after all. I know how much you were looking forward to it. I talked to your agent. I know how much you were planning around it. But the problem is, you're just more well-rounded enough for the position, to be honest. Like, I was looking for someone with a little more experience in a little more things, you know. So I'm sorry that you weren't able to get it, but I mean, definitely go around, like, build up your resume. Like, if you can do some like community service hours, I'd be impressed by that. And then maybe you could end up working at the Flock Network. Yeah, but guys, if you don't know, we actually had Dwayne Wade apply to be an intern at the Flock Network. He said that, I mean, he was just kind of bored after, of course, retiring from the NBA and really wanted to get in. And I'm sorry that we weren't able to find a position for you, but just make sure you build up that resume just slightly. And from there, we have Flocking Up, my dude. This is someone that got into our new Patreon Dynasty draft as well. Then we have X Broman, I believe. This is someone we got a podcast out for over there on Patreon today. JWack Daddy, this is a new name. Vito's Pizza, this is a regular. Senior Skittles, a regular. Steve the Weave, a regular. Cam Hurst. They came out to a draft a long time ago. Maybe they've been in multiple drafts. I feel like they haven't been out in a while, though. And then Ark, I can't say this name. And honestly, because of that, I'm probably not even going to try because I would just embarrass myself. Okay, so Devontae Adams at the 104. Very standard from here. Very standard. Anime Heaven says Deshaun Watson to Miami week 5 and then takes the team to the Super Bowl to face Tom Brady. Imagine. That would be ridiculous. Obviously, that would be extremely exciting for the state of Florida, which I'm now in. I'm kind of hoping that would happen, but I mean, that probability is so low. The probability is so low. So my man, let me know, do you think that Tampa has a solid chance to go through and repeat this year? As I will say, honestly, I'm not even sure that Tampa, I can't say that. I was going to say, I'm not even sure Tampa wins the division. But I'm not even saying Tampa makes it to the NFC Championship. I'd be surprised if that happens this year, to be honest. Even though I'm rooting for Tampa because I just moved here. I mean, it would be really nice to see. And now with us drafting at the 111, I think that what we probably want to do here is try out something a little new for our next $250 draft. So if we're trying out something new, we don't have to do that at this selection, but we can try to find it. We can try to find something new to do a little later on. So here we are going to take Saquon Barkley over Austin Eckler, however. Derek says, I thought you were doing a 250. The problem is I couldn't sit around and wait for the 250 to fill because, I mean, it's midnight where I'm at right now. So, of course, I have to go through and I have to try to get these going as soon as possible. Yeah, so we're going to get Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor coming in to be our running back 1 and running back 2. Anytime you can start a draft off with Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, you need to do so. You definitely need to do so. Okay, so Antonio Gibson at the 403, Najee Harris at the 204, Deandre Hopkins at the 205. Guys, this is, I believe, our 4th draft of the night. So make sure, if y'all enjoy these drafts, there's nothing better for you to do than use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You can find the link in the description of the live stream. When you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you support the show, and that should be enough. If you enjoy these streams, supporting the show should be enough to go over there and take 5 minutes of your day and deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. And then also, you get $25 added to your account to go along with this. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football Draft Guide to go along with this. You get our 2021 Fantasy Football rankings and tiers. You get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. I mean, make sure you go through and take advantage of that, my dudes. Definitely take advantage of that. So now we have Darren Waller at the 207 to go with the Derrick Henry team. I mean, I know not many people are going to agree with me on this. I prefer Kelsey and Mixon over Henry and Waller. I mean, there are some, what other running backs available? I mean, I prefer Kelsey Chubb over Henry Waller every time. I mean, the difference between Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry for me is not much at all, to be honest. I mean, it's not that much at all. And I know a lot of people are going to hate hearing that. But I definitely prefer, like, if you were going to want to get one of these running backs in an elite tight end, might as well just take the elite tight end in a Travis Kelce, knowing that you can have one of these other guys making it back to you. Okay, so let's go through. And I will talk out loud real quick with my thought process on what we're doing with this Dynasty Patreon startup. Okay, so we are on the clock real quick. We were on the clock 50 minutes ago, so during the live stream. We're going to be going through looking at best player available. Okay, so this is a win now team that we're building. They have Mike Davis, James Conner, Logan Thomas. Probably going to go Logan Thomas, to be honest. We just scroll through to make sure I'm not missing anything else, because at this point, yeah, we're going to go Logan Thomas in that Dynasty League. Yeah, if y'all didn't see, we actually had a Dynasty Flock Patreon startup over there on the Dynasty Football channel today. So we streamed that about like 3 p.m. So yeah, this is my second live stream. This is the 5th draft that we have done on a stream today. We've done a Dynasty and we've done 4 of these. Okay, so David Montgomery goes at the 304 to Mr. Padilla. Don't love Montgomery at the 304. I mean, I think that if you're going to want, like, I prefer getting like Mixon and then best available receiver here. Like, I probably prefer getting like Mixon and then even Terry McLaurin, even though I'm not a massive fan of Terry McLaurin compared to A.J. Brown, David Montgomery. But, I mean, even I'd rather have Clyde Edwards-Helaire over David Montgomery. Let me see how much David Montgomery I've drafted this year. I don't think it's been much. I feel like I have not drafted David Montgomery that often. Also, a bad thing that I haven't been doing lately is I haven't been sharing with y'all my exposures enough. And I just hit 180 drafts on Underdog Fantasy. So we're easily going to get to 200 this year. Hopefully we get to 250. Maybe we'll ramp up the speed that we're doing them. Okay, so David Montgomery, we have in 3.7% of leagues. We have $30 of buy-ins on David Montgomery. Oh my God. Okay, so let's pull this over. Yeah, we need to be, now that I say that out loud, we need to be drafting David Montgomery more. We're going to be in a tough financial spot if David Montgomery repeats what he did last year. Okay, so Steve the Weave goes with a Robert Woods. Yeah, I'm going with 1 or 2 players here. It just really depends on who Cameron is going to leave us with. They go Tyler Lockett, so we're going to take Cooper Kupp. We took Cooper Kupp in the last draft. How many shares of Kupp do I have at this point? So I'm in 11% of our drafts that are not the big dog. So Underdog splits up your entries by the big dog and then all the other ones. So we're back up on the clock as well. We're going to go with the DJ Moore. Yeah, when we start running back, we're always following it up with receiver. So this is a very similar start to what we had in the last draft. The only difference is instead of getting an Aaron Jones, where did Aaron Jones go in this draft? He went 1 pick before us. We go Barkley Taylor instead of Jones Taylor. So far, we have actually drafted Cooper Kupp in 2 of the $250 leagues, and we have drafted him. Actually, I need to refresh this because we have more drafts than, yeah. We drafted him in 3 of the $250 leagues, and we've drafted him in 11% of our other leagues. Sorry, I'm going quiet, guys. I'm just going through and checking out like my most drafted players in the $250 leagues. Drafting a lot of guys over and over again. Okay, so we got Robinson, Carson, Swift, all going off the board. I mean, if we would have considered going with like a Deandre Hopkins at the 202 instead of a Jonathan Taylor, then maybe there I possibly take like a James Robinson instead of a DJ Moore. But to be honest, probably no. I mean, I'm probably going with a receiver at that turn, no matter what we are seeing. Actually, let's not. I don't really care to look at what's available on the board. We're not going to be picking for a very long time. Okay, Anime Heaven says, any DraftKings or FanDuel content this season, Mason? Like I said, I actually just talked about this previously. If I am going to do any, A, it would be on a different channel. I'm not going to put that stuff on this channel. And B, I would have to put out the disclaimer saying, I am not a profitable player in DFS. I am not a profitable player in DFS. Scream that into the wind. And then I could go through and maybe talk about it. But, I mean, I definitely would have to have that disclaimer out there. Maybe we can do like a bankroll challenge. Calling the game says, why Saquon Barkley over Austin Eckler? Because Barkley has already proven that he can actually average just as many targets on a per game basis than an Austin Eckler. And we know that Barkley is 100% going to have that role at the goal line where Barkley can end up seeing 25 touches a game at the same time. So it's a much worse offense. Saquon Barkley is a much better running back, and he's going to be getting the opportunity that we are looking to see. So we get a Deontay Johnson to T. Higgins. Rick says, can we do another $10 draft after this? My man, it is midnight where I'm at. It is midnight. You'd be asking me to live stream. And y'all have to remember, guys, so when everybody goes through and they use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, I mean, you'll see in the description of the video to get that draft guide, to get the rankings, to get everything. All you have to do is shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, literally wherever. Or you can even just email me if you don't have any of those. You can find all that in the description of the video. And all you have to do is email me or send me that message anywhere with the email address that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. That way I can go through and confirm that you use promo code FLOCK, and I can send all that stuff out to you. So I have to go through and I have to send out a ton of that stuff. I have to send out all those draft packages after the live stream. So if I'm like ending this live stream at like 12:30, I'm probably not going to bed until like, and I still have like Patreon questions and stuff I need to get to, probably not going to bed until like 1:32. So I can't be streaming until 1 a.m. because then I'm not going to bed till 3. And y'all know I have a video I have to get up and premiere in the morning. Okay, now from here we get Lamar Jackson at the 504, Josh Jacobs at the 503. It does suck seeing Lamar go. Okay, so you actually get Mr. Padilla. He brings in the stack of Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson. He does pay a pretty penny to do so, but still I think it's completely fine. D Wade, I love the start from D Wade. Maybe I will consider you for that internship after all. I've been going through and getting Sanders in the 5th as your second running back, but more importantly, this T. Higgins selection at the 411. I mean, fantastic value with T. Higgins. Okay, now let's pull this up. Okay, so Brandon says, I got to see Saquon Barkley running healthy before I agree that he's better than anyone in that range. Well, by the time you see Saquon Barkley running healthy, he's not going to be valued near anybody in that range. So you can see it, and then you can go, oh, I wish I would have drafted him, and that's going to be the end of that story. But here we're going to go with another receiver. We're going to go with Odell Beckham Jr. here at the 511. If you were interested into knowing why I'm drafting another receiver here at the 511, I encourage you to stick around on this live stream and to stick around and see the exact options that we are going to end up having at receiver versus running back later on in the draft. Obviously, I'm not going to be inclined to draft a tight end or a quarterback in this range. A tight end would be a massive reach. If we were going to take someone like a Dak Prescott, I want to be doing so on a team that we have at least have one of Ezekiel Elliott, Let me just take in Jamar Chase here. I mean, Jamar Chase, someone I was never drafting previously, but now if we're getting him in the 6th round, this is someone that used to go in the 4th. Yeah, I'll take a Dak Prescott in the 6th when we have Amari Cooper, when we have CeeDee Lamb, or when we have Ezekiel Elliott, but I'm not taking him at the 602 when we don't have any of those options. Okay, guys, I'll say if Saquon Barkley is getting his carries cut in half in week 1, and then they get him right back into the action in week 2, Anybody who is drafting like Eckler, Gibson, Harris, Chubb over Saquon Barkley, they're going to be crying themselves to sleep every single night. They're going to be curling up into a ball, crying themselves to sleep, wondering what they did wrong and why they passed on Saquon Barkley at the 1-2 turn. If you have the opportunity to draft Saquon Barkley at the end of the first, the beginning of the second, you do that every single time. Okay, Javonte Williams at the 606, Damian Harris at the 605. And Matt says you don't need a stack to draft a quarterback. Yeah, that's completely true. But, I mean, you need a stack if you're going to reach on a quarterback. If we're going to draft a quarterback at a value, if the quarterback's falling 10 picks behind his ADP, then yeah, I don't necessarily care if we have a stack. We've actually, I mean, the last $250 draft we drafted Trey Lance when we didn't have any 49ers, but Trey Lance fell like a round and a half. And then we also drafted Stafford previously, and we took him over a quarterback that we did have a potential stack with. But the thing is, he fell about 11 picks behind his ADP. So we can't necessarily take a Dak Prescott when he usually goes at the 609, 608, 607, at the 602 here if we have no real incentive to do so. I mean, everything we're doing is trying to get a small edge, because we're going through and we're drafting in 250 leagues. So if we're drafting in 250 leagues this season, all real money leagues, all I have to do is say, okay, well, if we just create these tiny little advantages throughout every draft, it's going to just snowball into a very nice season for us. Now, I will say that I'm kind of throwing in the white towel before we even get there because, yes, we do have the injury to Travis Etienne, one of our top targets that we had everywhere. We have the injury to Cam Akers, who I literally had ranked as my Dynasty running back 4, and I had him everywhere in Dynasty. We had an injury to Dobbins, which I'm going to be honest, I didn't think that hurt us that bad. But whenever I looked up the ownership of what we had with J.K. Dobbins, it was way higher than I thought, and we had Gus Edwards nowhere. So before the season even starts, we're maybe having to throw in the towel and say, well, we're probably going to be having our first not profitable season since 2014. But still, that's no reason why we have to just completely go off of our process now. I think our process has been very sound. I think that we've actually just got a little unlucky so far. Foster says, you'll never be able to take him at the beginning of the second if you take him at the end of the first every time, Mason. Foster, big fella. What is the real difference between taking him at the 11th pick versus the 13th? And second thing is, if you've watched this live stream before, you've seen that I've taken Saquon Barkley a considerable amount of times in the second round because I will take Aaron Jones over him, understanding ADP and understanding how the board falls. So that's just an ignorant response based on multiple factors. Now you have Gallup at the 704. I mean, I don't even know we could easily go quarterback. I mean, we could go receiver again at the 7-8 turn. It's not going to be as much of a premium for us. However, when we do have those other guys, I mean, when we have Kupp, Moore, Odell, and Jamar Chase, I think we're not at a massive premium to do so. Now you have Kenny Golladay at the 708. Okay, let's see what happens here. Steve the Weave has 2-3-1 for his build. He took Kyle Pitts way behind his ADP. I mean, he's strong at receiver. He's strong at running back as well. I really like Steve the Weave's team so far. Okay, Russell Wilson at the 7-9. I was probably going to take Wilson if he ended up falling to us. Now, Herbert goes as well. So here we're going to get Logan Thomas. I mean, we need a tight end. If this is supposedly a good value for him, I mean, let's just take him. And then possibly we'll do what we did in the last draft. If we get another tight end in the 9th round, then we'll be done drafting tight ends in this draft. What we probably should have done is just gone a receiver. I know a lot of people probably want us to go with a Raheem Mostert here. I can't. I just have such a hard time drafting him, knowing that Trey Sermon's probably the better running back. Raheem Mostert's a 29-year-old guy. And I'll say this again. There are very, very, very few players that I want to label as injury prone in the NFL. A very few, like a handful of guys. Like I think when people are just focusing in their analysis purely based on injuries, it's such cheap level analysis. And really, you're just taking the easy way out and looking at what actually matters season to season and understanding it doesn't matter who you are. And a game as random as football, it's so hard to predict injuries for any given player. Raheem Mostert's one of those guys that I'll make the exception, and I'll say that I think that he is probably injury prone. I think that we can put that label on him. Okay, so Cooks goes at the 806. And guys, I'm going to try my best. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I was going to say, never mind. Matt says, and now you need Ryan Fitzmagic. No, we do not need Fitzmagic on this team. I'm fine without Fitzmagic on this team. So yeah, seeing this wide receiver run, potentially we made a mistake in not going through and double tapping a receiver at the 7-8 turn. However, I think we can come back from it. I mean, we already have 5 receivers on this team, so it's not the end of the world. And going through, let me give some shout outs to people subscribing to the channel. We have Carson, Edward, OS, Easy Life. We have Only One Don. We have Solithman, Gavito, Coins, George, Snurb, Gardendale, Marco. So thank you so much for everybody subscribing. We also have Patrick, Braden, Mel. Yeah. Okay, now Jalen Waddle, Ronald Jones. Let me switch this back over. Coleman said, lightweight, baby. That's pretty funny. I guess so Jalen Hurts at the 902. Jalen Hurts is someone that's making a bounce back. I mean, Jalen Hurts had a considerable fall not that long ago. I mean, especially around, remember the Deshaun Watson rumors going to Philadelphia? I mean, that made Jalen Hurts just tumble down rankings. I would imagine that Cameron's probably upset with us for going with the Mike Williams here at the 802 when he had Justin Herbert potentially to get that stack on the way back. I know at one point I was very underweight on Mike Williams. Like I was barely drafting him at all, but he was actually going higher than this. And I think he's fallen a considerable amount to go to the 802. So I'm happy that we were avoiding him previously. Yeah, we have Mike Williams in 7.3% of non-$250 leagues. And in the $250 leagues, we've drafted him a lot in the $250 leagues. It looks like in those $250 leagues, we're probably buying a Mike Williams jersey this year if he does something for us. Okay, so now this is a little bit of a different story here with what we're looking at. If we got a Noah Fant, I think we could also be done at tight end if we wanted, very similar to what we did in the last draft, where we would only have to draft 2. Michael Thomas goes to the 907. Raheem Mostert goes to the 908. That is value with Raheem Mostert. That is the range where he should be going in. I would have drafted him if he would have fallen to the 911. I would have taken him there. Cam Hurst back up on the clock. They've yet to take a tight end. Maybe they go Noah Fant. They go Rondale Moore. We're just going to take Jarvis here. I know it's boring. Now we do really need to make sure that we're maybe prioritizing getting a Baker Mayfield into this team. We're going to have 6 receivers, and we're going to take whatever running back or tight end falls to us with our next pick. I think the receivers in this range, Jarvis is going to be the last guy in that tier for me here. So we'll just see what running back falls to us here. Elijah Moore goes to the 912. But a big thing is, we're looking at this as a spot where you're most likely going to have receivers just drying up after this. You're probably going to see some nasty receivers going off the board very soon. Okay, so Zach Moss goes, our guy goes. It's going to be a spot where we probably just go through and diversify a little bit. I don't necessarily think that we have drafted Sony Michel anywhere. Let me see how many leagues we've drafted Melvin Gordon in. I want to see, have we drafted him in? We've drafted him in some $250 leagues. We're going to take Sony. No, let's just take Melvin. They're very close. I think that Sony Michel could potentially be a better option in the leagues that we have the playoffs at the end, because you could see a path where he continues to expand his role in that offense if Darrell Henderson doesn't necessarily look extremely impressive at the beginning of the season. So yeah, we're going to go through and we are going to get that loaded up here. And excuse me, I just got a notification that we need to go through and process a trade in our new Dynasty Patreon startup. So let's do that ASAP and let's switch this back over. So yeah, I think Melvin Gordon, he fits this structure because a big thing that we have to focus in on with this team is the fact that this is a league that we're playing in that doesn't have the fantasy football playoffs. You don't have the tournament at the end. It's just who can score the most points throughout the entire season. And Melvin Gordon's a lot more appealing in a league like that because you know he's going to get points at the beginning of the year. The reason I don't love Melvin Gordon in a regular fantasy league this year, however, is he's not going to be getting the points during the fantasy football playoffs. Yeah, I think Melvin Gordon's going to be a fine pick at the 10.02. Now we have that run on receivers. Got Henry Ruggs going before Hollywood Brown. I think we take Hollywood there. Honestly, I think Hollywood Brown's probably a pretty good value this year. Yeah, I mean, in this format, I'm taking Hollywood Brown over like Terrace Marshall as well. I think Hollywood Brown is probably right up here with like a Russell Gage. Let me switch over and check out what y'all are saying in the chat real quick. Brandon says, Saquon fanboys haven't had a decent argument. I'm seeing if there was any. Oh, man. Saquon Barkley is a running back that has averaged over 7 targets per game before. Saquon Barkley is a running back that has a workhorse body. You know how many running backs have that workhorse body that have averaged 7 targets a game before? Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey. End of story. End of story, my friend. Checkmate. You're done. You lose. Game over. You do not win. I'm sorry, my man. I'm sorry. Brandon says, I accidentally only drafted Waller as my tight end on Underdog. Can I still win? If you only drafted Waller, you're mathematically going to be at a disadvantage. You can definitely still win. I mean, you're at a disadvantage, though. You're at a disadvantage, my friend. Okay, so James Conner at the 11.02. Aaron says, hey, Mason, what do you think about a Chase Edmonds of value this year? I actually really like Chase Edmonds in fantasy, to be honest. I mean, with Chase Edmonds, he is in a muddied backfield, but he's playing in an offense that's going to have a ton of overall touches for the running back position. Not necessarily just touches, but more so high value touches, considering that they're going to have so many trips to the red zone. And that's why I'm a pretty big fan of Chase Edmonds, because while, yes, it's hard to go through and project exactly what the split's going to be between him and James Conner, we know that they give very, very little to a James Conner. So, I mean, I think that we're probably fine drafting Chase Edmonds. Brandon says Saquon Barkley is coming off a career-ending injury. You need to seek help. You do not know the English language. You do not know what career ending means. That may have been the dumbest thing that I've ever read in the live chat, and it may not even be close, to be honest. It may not be close. Like, you probably take that and it's Saquon Barkley is going to be playing week 1. Saquon Barkley missed 1 season. He's going to be playing week 1. That was embarrassing. And here we're going to take a Matthew Stafford. We're going to be stacking Stafford with our wide receiver 1 in Cooper Kupp. It's going to be at a great value as well. Stafford is falling almost 20 picks behind his ADP. So yeah, I mean, that's just like the easiest pick I've ever made. It's a very strong pick. I don't necessarily even need to talk about that too much. We could go Burrow here. Like, if we were to go with the Burrow, it would stack with the Jamar Chase. However, I think that we really probably want Baker Mayfield on this team a little later on. And at the same time, I mean, there are some running backs that we're intrigued with here. So receiver has dried up a lot. That's why we took another receiver earlier on. So instead, I actually think that we're going to be bringing in a Devin Singletary, another one of these running backs that's going to be in a muddied backfield, but he's going to be playing in an offense that's going to have a lot of trips to the red zone. So now this is where we are at the 111. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Brandon thinks that the injury that Saquon Barkley suffered was done in the Civil War or something, and they had to amputate the leg. Brandon, I don't know if you've heard by now, but we have what is called modern medicine. And I mean, it's actually a great thing too. I mean, you've seen that. I mean, the overall average age of death has just completely gone up. I mean, you're seeing way less deaths by infections. We have antibiotics now and everything. I mean, please. Like, if you like stub your toe or something, don't think you need to chop it off. You don't need to chop it off, Brandon. It's going to be okay, my friend. It's going to be okay. You'll be just fine. The Pacifier says that was a career-ending comment. LOL. That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it. Okay, now let's switch this back over. So you have some more receivers going off the board. I mean, I I definitely think that Devin Singletary and like Leonard Fournette, I guess you could throw Naheem Hines into that range as well. They're going to be like pretty much the last running backs in this tier. And that's why I just think the receivers here are so gross. I mean, that's why we wanted to take like a Jarvis Landry over someone like a Zach Moss. I mean, I definitely prefer like Jarvis Landry and Devin Singletary versus like Zach Moss and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So honestly, that's not even that close. Okay, so Cole Kmet at the 1209. Joe Burrow at the 1210. Let's go through and let's show off this entire draft board really quick. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, but I may not be able to make it through this draft. I am extremely tired, and I have to send out all those draft kits for everybody who used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. We have like 5 more rounds. Of course, I'm going to go through and I'm going to finish this draft out on my own. Like I'm going to be drafting it on the other screen. I'm sorry. I don't feel like we need to apologize that much. This is my 5th draft that I've done today in a live stream. Of course, we got out a video as well. I recorded 2 videos because we're about to start uploading 2 videos a day. I did like 8 Patreon podcasts. So that should be enough for everybody. I'm sorry that we're probably going to have to end it here. I do apologize for that. Now, I will go through. I'm going to finish this draft out, of course, because I can't just be donating $10 to League Pod. So I'm going to be drafting on other screen. But I have to get out those draft guides. I have to get out our rankings for everybody who used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. So, guys, if you went down to the description of the video and you joined Underdog Fantasy and made a $10 deposit and got your $25 bonus in added on with promo code FLOCK, and you get that draft guide, you get those rankings, you get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, you get hundreds of pages of information. Literally, all you need to do right now is shoot me that message on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, wherever it is. You can email me as well. And all you need to do is send me the email address that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with and that you use promo code FLOCK with. And I'll be extremely happy to go through and get those out for you right now tonight. That's why I have to end the live stream. It's like almost 12:30 here where I'm at. And we're going to be sending these out for a while. So make sure you send me that message ASAP, my friends. And yeah, I will go through. I promise you, guys. I promise you, I will crush the rest of this draft. If for whatever reason you have not already, drop a like on the live stream, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And yeah, that's it. I will hopefully see y'all with the premiere tomorrow. And I will also see y'all in the live stream tomorrow night. We're getting 2 videos out tomorrow. We're going to start doing 2 videos a day. So yeah, thank you again, my dudes. We'll go through and actually we'll make this pick. Our last pick that we are going to get in here. Okay, so it looks like we're going to go QB. I mean, it looks like we're going to go quarterback. And what sucks is we may not necessarily be taking a stack. Like, Giovanni Bernard goes to the 1309. Like, oh, dear God. Like, we kind of wanted Baker Mayfield on this team. But the thing is, I mean, when Lawrence is falling 20 picks behind his ADP, it's a spot that I feel like Lawrence is going 20 picks before Baker Mayfield. Like, even though we have the stack, thing is we would have to take Baker at the 1402. So instead, we're going to make a pick that doesn't make much sense. It is what it is, though. I think he's probably going to score more points. We're going to take Trevor Lawrence there. I mean, yes, I love getting stacks, but at some point we have to go, okay, well, we can't reach on getting the stack, and I think that would be reaching. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you, my dudes. Drop that like, subscribe to the channel, use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Message me when you do. That way I can get you all that drafts, the entire draft package. And thank you, my dudes, and have a great day.